Наливаймо, браття, Христові чаші, Прийшли окупанти до нас в Україну, форма новенька, воєнні машини та трохи поплавився їх інвентар. Байрактар, Байрактар. Російські танкісти сховались в кущі, щоб лаптем посьорбати довбані щі, та трохи у чах перегрівся навар. Байрактар, Байрактар. Приперли зі сходу до нас барани для восстановлення
великої страни.
Найкращий пастух баранячих отар. Байрактар, Байрактар. Їх доводи всяке озброєння різне, потужні ракети, машини залізні, у нас на всі доводи є коментар. Байрактар, Байрактар. Вони захопити хотіли нас зразу, а ми зачаїли на орків образу з російських бандитів, робить примар. Байрактар, Байрактар. Російська поліція справи заводить, там пихцю рашистів ніяк не знаходить, хто винен, що в нашому полі глухар. Байрактар, Байрактар. Веде пропаганду кремлівський урод, слова пропаганди ковтає народ, тепер нове слово знає цар.
Байрактар.
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 Yes.
The Leaf Spring Army sends its regards.
Хотите жить – бегите. Хотите жить – сдавайтесь в плен. Россия не получит новую территорию Украины. Россия присоединит себя к той катастрофе, которую она принесла на оккупированную территорию нашей страны. Оккупант заполняет могилами захваченную территорию Украины. И все больше могил на территории самой России. Ценой того, что один человек в России хочет продолжать эту войну, кто хочет войны больше, чем жизнь. Ваши жизни, граждане России.
Русский военный корабль. Предлагаю сложить оружие и сдаться. Русский военный корабль, иди нахуй.
Hello, everyone. I'm the Enforcer, and I'm accompanied by Enforcer Matt.
And good evening, folks. It's Enforcer Matt, and welcome back to day 590 of the news, and it's good to see you all once again.
And of course, we're going to be covering the past 24 hours of the news of the war in Ukraine. But before we get into that tonight, of course, I know that many of y'all have been hearing and seeing what has been going on around YouTube today, and I would actually like to hand it over to Matthew really quickly to give a prepared address that we have made before the stream. And so, Matthew, take it away.
All right, folks. So I'm sure y'all have seen the nasty situation going on around YouTube. Mercado Media is the person in question. He is currently the subject of 3 copyright infringement claims that we have made against his channel. And I want to quickly go over exactly what led to that, and so that way you have all the facts. Because right now we're getting a lot of false accusations thrown our way by big YouTube channels, and I think y'all know who they are. And we might mention them near the end of this explanation. But for now, let's go over the facts. So right now, Mercado Media has put up 3 separate videos infringing on our copyrighted material. The first claim, and I have notes here to show you exactly what he put up. The first time he played a 1-minute excerpt of our stream, he uploaded it with no commentary whatsoever onto his YouTube channel, and it was uploaded as a sole video. That is obviously an infringement of copyright, and we struck that video, and YouTube took action and took it down and applied a strike to his channel. The second time, Mercado uploaded a full video of our campaign ad that we ran probably about 2 or 3 years ago, I think, when the Enforcer was running for office somewhere. And he also provided no commentary on that as well, and just simply ripped it off from our Facebook page and provided no credit and just stole it. The third time, he uploaded a 6-minute string of live stream excerpts back to back with no commentary as well. And that was a strike that has led to his 7-day, basically, grace period where he's going to be removed from YouTube. So obviously, this is a pretty serious situation. He had 3 opportunities to cease his behavior. He chose not to. And I want to make it clear that on our part, what we've done is we've submitted copyright takedown requests to YouTube, and YouTube decides whether or not they act on it. And each and every time, YouTube decided that our rights were infringed, and they removed his content. So very clearly, YouTube knows who's in the wrong here. They have rejected 2 out of 3 of his appeals thus far, and he has 1 more appeal to go, which will be the final one. I have a feeling that one's going to be rejected as well, because very clearly, YouTube has held that our rights have been infringed. I want to say this as well, because 2 very large channels have made false statements about the situation without knowing all the facts. And I must say, I'm very pissed off, if I speak frankly about it, that they made these statements. One person is Ukraine Matters. He made a false statement about the situation. He's trying to help out his buddy Mercado in a bad situation. On one hand, I kind of get it that he's trying to help his buddy out, but on the other hand, it's never good to be dishonest like that. And the other person was Jake Bro, who stepped in and insinuated that we were being dishonest as well and applying strikes where they weren't necessary. So obviously, we're very upset, and the LSA has been supportive most of the time. But I will say that, Enforcer, actually, I'm going to stop right there before I say anything else that I probably shouldn't say. But what do you have to say?
I'm going to have to say really quickly that a lot of people, including those two YouTubers in question, have either deliberately not included the fact that this person, before we even took action to take down his, to take down the videos where he played our copyrighted material, or before our lawsuit even began, the Mercado Media channel was engaged in doxing our home address, also encouraging people to go out of their way to threaten us with physical bodily harm, which we have, of course, endured multiple times from some other small YouTube channels, as well as viewers of his stream. He has gone out of his way to try and locate our law school and have people call in and try and have us kicked out of law school. He's also threatened to call the state bar as well and make sure that we would never be able to become attorneys. All of this happening largely before we took any major action against his channel. One YouTuber today has described what we have done as a dick move. And in response to that, I'm going to have to say it's something of a dick move to completely ignore the fact that our lives have been at danger for months because of the reckless actions of this person. And not only that, our character has been defamed and we have been claimed to be scammers with absolutely no proof whatsoever. These kinds of things go beyond being just pro-Ukrainian. We've been pro-Ukrainian through and through since the very first day I created this channel, back when I only had 103 subscribers, and there was absolutely nothing in it for me at all, rather than reporting the news. And since then, we've remained this way ever since the very start. I think it's incredibly wrong that people would sit there and say our actions are unjustified when for months they have apparently been seeing the deliberate attacks of our character and also what we've been doing against us and have not bat a single eye against that. That is absolutely annoying. It's absolutely angering as well. And it's also incredibly infuriating, especially considering and understanding that we have had people actually coming and showing pictures of our back porch, among other things, on Twitter. You can't make this stuff up. People have been going out of their way to try and put our lives in danger and have us in fear of our lives because of this Mercado Media channel. And when you start doing that, this moves beyond supporting Ukraine. This moves on into making sure that we are keeping ourselves safe. That's what it comes down to. And the lawsuit will continue. And here's something else really quickly as well. Mercado Media has an option right now as a YouTube channel to email us and ask about possibly having these takedown requests removed. He can do that. And that's an option he has. He can reach out to us and talk about them if he wants, but right now we're not inclined whatsoever to let our copyrights go and just act like the copyrights don't exist, because some YouTubers out there want to completely skirt over the idea that we have been in fear of our lives, in all honesty, for the past few months because of his actions and his community. And so with that, I hope that addresses that fairly well on my end, and I also have to... go ahead.
And also, one more thing I want to say is, at this point, folks, basically what is happening is we're exercising our constitutional rights to protect our copyrighted material, and we're basically being bullied by several pretty comparable channels to our own size to basically give up and forfeit our rights to protect our own material that we created. We spent our very valuable free time to create this material, also spent our money to create this material as well, and we are not going to stand by and let some thug rip off our material while he's doxing us as well as harassing us nonstop for months. It led to the filing of a lawsuit. I mean, this situation is obviously out of control, and this individual has now gone out and started stealing our content for his own gain. So that's not going to work. We're not going to forfeit our rights. And while I do appreciate the LSA supporting us as a whole, I will say that if that is a problem, I would recommend you unsubscribe, because we are not going to back down from these thugs and these bullies that are trying to make us basically bow down to their will. That's not going to work. That's never been the way we've operated, and we're not going to start doing that now.
And to people who have said, and some YouTubers have also said, that we have tried not one time to resolve this issue with Andrew Mercado of Mercado Media. We have tried resolving this at least 6 or 7 times. The first time we ever tried to resolve this was on December 16th of 2020. I sent him an email all the way back then trying to clarify that we had no problem with him, that we were on quite good terms with him, and that this was completely a misunderstanding on his end and we could get along perfectly fine. After that, Matthew also has emailed him several times as well, trying to even find a way to end the lawsuit and find an amicable solution that both sides would be happy with, and he was never satisfied with any of those options either. At some point, one has to go, you reap what you sow, and in this situation, he has certainly reaped what he has sowed. We have tried every option we can, and he is now going once again and doing his thing, and at this point, we have no recourse than doing what we're doing. And so with that, I hope that does address that fairly well. I'd also like to apologize really quickly for not covering our news. We, of course, cover the news the same way every single night, and I hope that you'll understand I'm not going to be as enthusiastic or excited tonight, of course, considering what we've gone through today, among everything else. But we will, of course, be covering the news as usual. And I got to thank all of y'all once again for being here tonight. If y'all do enjoy the stream, make sure to hit the like button. I don't know what the like ratio looks like right now, but I'm sure we're being dislike bombed. So please make sure to hit the like button and send the likes into space, so that way we can make sure to overrun the trolls who are coming in and disliking the stream because of false statements from another group of people. And so with that,
I don't know what you're talking about. We got 1,000 likes right now, so I don't know what you're talking about, man. We're doing good.
We're doing pretty good, but just looking at it, the bots are actually coming in pretty strong tonight. And so make sure to click the like button. Even with 1,000 likes, they are still in here doing their thing. And I hope that, of course, everyone supports us and backs us up in our decision. It's not one that was lightly taken, and it's one that we actually thought we would only have to take once. And then for some reason, the guy just did it again and again and again. And so with that,
I don't know about you, Enforcer, but even though this is obviously very distressing, I'm not going to let it bother me. It's being handled in the background. I think YouTube's going to take care of the situation for us, because YouTube understands the severity of what has been done here, and I'm not going to worry with it. It's out of our hands at this point. We've done our part in requesting that they take it down. They've acted. They ruled that we were in the right, and it is what it is. So from this point forward, I am free at this point.
All right, and so with that, we're going to be trying to move into the news tonight and cover it in our usual way, of course, doing our usual stuff. But moving on into our first bit of news inside of Russia, we have heard that the Russians are once again starting to pull out the threats of nuclear attacks against Ukraine to hopefully try and pull some stuff on the Ukrainians to make them, of course, scared once more. But I think we all have a pretty good idea that this is not anything to even be worried about. Russia is currently threatening nuclear test returns, which would be a violation of nuclear treaties, and the Russian Duma's chair echoes Putin's nuclear testing threat for leverage on Ukraine. The nuclear tests are most likely meant as some kind of a signal to the Western world or Ukraine that these weapons may not just be used in the testing fields, but may also be used in the fields of Ukraine here in the near future. Tactical weapons are, of course, a massive escalation in the war. I have a feeling that they're probably not going to be used, but the Russians, of course, are still attempting to try and spread the message that it may be a possibility in the future. Moving on to our next bit of news, we also heard that Putin has turned 71 years old as of today. And that's actually quite shocking. I did not think that Putin was 71 years old, and they have a pretty interesting little birthday cake here for him, but nevertheless, he is now 71 years old as of today, according to Mikhail Khodorkovsky, who posted this on Twitter. Of course, no one's wishing him a happy birthday, but still, time's ticking. And Mikhail is correct. The average lifespan of most Russian rulers is somewhere around the ages of 74. And so, hopefully, he will not live much longer. Of course, the one can only dream, but nevertheless, something that we are hoping will not be the case, that he will live to see 74. Hopefully, he won't live much longer than what he is right now. But moving on from inside of Russia and towards the area of Belarus, in the city of Minsk, we also saw something fairly interesting in that city as well, as a railway station has been bombed on the outskirts of Minsk. This railway station has been used for military logistics for the Russian Federation and Belarus as well, and from what we can understand, this was at the Azarashisha railway station. Hopefully I'm pronouncing that correctly. I know I'm butchering it. But it is a key military equipment loading hub in the Minsk region, and of course has been used by the Belarusian military and the Russian armed forces to move around their militaries so far over the war in Ukraine. With the destruction of this rail yard, the logistical abilities around the city of Minsk have mostly been reduced to a small degree over the past few hours, and most likely over the past few days as well. We'll be waiting and seeing what kind of real damage this is actually causing to the Belarusian logistical sphere, but it probably won't be a major consequence of the war, because it's in Minsk, in Belarus, and we're not really seeing a lot of Russian military activity in Belarus any longer. There's about 6,000 Russian troops there, and we're not seeing a lot of Belarusian military activity either. Still very interesting to see that a partisan attack, of course, knocked out a railway station outside of Minsk today, but beyond that, the impact will probably not be that large. But speaking of impacts outside of Ukraine's borders to the war effort, there has actually been some very interesting occurrences inside of the nation of Sudan, which has been engulfed in a civil war since the middle of this summer. It's been a very interesting occurrence in Sudan. It largely broke out because of the RSF going into a attempted coup against the Sudanese government, and then all-out war began to occur. And so, interestingly enough, the Wagner showed up in the area, and the Russians as well, to back up, I believe it may have been the Sudanese government that the Russians were attempting to back up, and then the Ukrainians have now arrived with the special forces and are now fighting inside of Ukraine as well. And so, here's the clip. When you see this Ukrainian sniper posted up in the hills of Sudan, we're assuming that this is most likely near the area of the Nile at Khartoum. And we can see the distances that this Special Forces sniper is firing at, which is almost out to a mile. We can now see the streets of the city, as it appears that militants may be moving around these derelict cars in the middle of the street, and it appears that the sniper team is observing them at the moment. We can now see a Ukrainian drone taking a little flight over the area, surveying the militants again, and it appears that they actually dropped a small bomblet onto the rooftop of the building. We can now see what may be a Ukrainian Special Forces soldier firing his PKP machine gun. It appears that he's actually involved in some kind of an urban fighting, most likely in the city of Khartoum. We can see the firefight is now raged on into the nighttime. The machine gun is still laying down fire, and we now see an entire sniper fire team, nearly, of about 3 or 4 snipers, now posted up on the same shale rocks out in the distance, and firing into the city. It appears that most of this is most likely based around the major city of Khartoum, Sudan's capital. Khartoum has been involved in massive fighting for months on end. The RSF and the Sudanese government have neither been able to claim complete control of the city, and it can largely be described as a scene of chaos, as both sides exchange street-to-street fighting each and every day, and the groups who control each street and city corner actually varies greatly on any given hour of the day. We can now see what appears to be some Sudanese militants in the middle of the street, apparently observing the pavement, and we can now see them moving on out of the area. We can now see that the building that they've moved into has just been hit. We're not really sure if that's by Ukrainian Special Forces, or if that's by another force such as the RSF or the Sudanese government, but very interesting to see the kind of fighting, of course, occurring in the area. We can also see more shelling occurring on buildings that appear to be straddling the Nile River, and we can also see what appears to be some kind of a truck-borne operation along the streets of Khartoum moving down one of the highways. It appears that that was also just hit as well, and we are largely assuming that most of this is related to RSF or Sudanese activity, along with some Ukrainian Special Forces support. It appears that the Ukrainians have taken their fight abroad to the Russians and are now fighting even in places such as Central Africa, like in Sudan, and trying to make sure that even Russian efforts here are hindered as best as possible, which is a very interesting move. And I have to be quite honest, I'm not really sure how this is going to be pertaining to the war in Ukraine, but interesting to see that the Ukrainians are taking the fight to the Russians wherever they may be. We can now see the militants moving around once again and getting hit by some kind of another bomblet of some sort. And that's the end of the clip, but a very interesting look at some of the Ukrainian Special Forces actions inside of Khartoum. Unfortunately, I was not able to gather enough information to know what side the Ukrainian Special Forces are exactly affiliated with, if they're affiliated with any side at all. The Ukrainians may be in Sudan for the sole reason of not joining a side, but just attacking pro-Russian forces wherever they may lie, which is a very interesting concept and very interesting to see that the Ukrainians are now in the middle of Central Africa and fighting the Russians there. I guess that technically makes the Ukraine war a world war now, because it's now moved on from Europe and into another continent, Africa, but we'll have to wait and see if the historians of the future say that it was a world war. It most likely will not be considered a world war. Moving on from that and into the area of Crimea, we've also seen something incredibly interesting at the port city of Sevastopol, where most of the Russian Black Sea Fleet has already moved out of the area. It appears that the port of Sevastopol has now been blockaded by massive anti-drone nets and multiple layers of them. We can see what appears to be 3 to 4 visible layers of anti-drone nets spanning across the open area leading into the port of Sevastopol, and I can show y'all where that is. It's right here at this breakwater, and we can already see one small anti-drone barrier set up right here, but it appears that it's been greatly expanded upon into 3 or 4 entire anti-drone nets, which is absolutely shocking to see that they're putting that much effort into this, considering most of the Black Sea Fleet has moved out, but perhaps this is an attempt to try and protect all of the remainder of the ships of the Black Sea Fleet that may still be within Sevastopol and really have no other ports to be based at. From what we understand, the port of Novorossiysk is almost at 100% capacity at its military wharf for the ships that are currently harbored there, and there's not many other Russian harbors and ports that could facilitate the maintenance and logistics of Russian warships. And so there may still be a sizable number of Russian warships inside of Sevastopol, and it appears that the Russians have now decided that these ships will most likely not make it back out to sea, as these drone nets and the massive obstacle that they would face trying to, of course, construct them and deconstruct them would probably pose a massive amount of downtime for a ship to even leave or enter port, meaning that the amount of ships that will be exiting Sevastopol and being used in the Black Sea to try and enforce the Russian blockade will probably be greatly decreased as time goes by. Moving on from that clip and on into our next one inside of Crimea as well, we also heard interesting news that the Kerch Bridge had also been closed down again today, and sirens sounded in the area. We did not hear of an attack actually hitting the bridge, but according to Noel reports, loud explosions were reported in Sevastopol. Again, the air defense had been activated, the bridge was closed, and we also heard that apparently it may have actually been some kind of a realistic air attack that had been conducted on the Kerch Bridge. Nevertheless, we haven't been getting confirmations of damage over the past few hours, which would quickly come out, and so unfortunately, we can't confirm whether the bridge was hit or not. We're most likely assuming that it was not hit whatsoever, and the attack may have been unsuccessful if there even is one at all. But considering that the Russians did close down the bridge, we are assuming that there was most likely an attack. Moving on from that, and on into our next bit of news, which is actually, and let me make sure, it's not international, it's actually going to be inside of Ukraine. We are now going to be moving on into our location unknowns. And starting off with our first bit, we got to see an interesting clip from United 24 showing how many Russian generals have died so far from Ukrainian activity.
A lot.
Oh, a decent amount, an incredibly high amount of them. And it's great to know that United 24 is putting out great videos. Of course, you can find a link in the description below to United 24, the fundraiser. This is United 24 Media, and we have so far actually been affiliated with them for about a month and a half, and of course have been, by their request, sharing their videos on our streams and making sure to go out of our way to upload new videos that they have. And so, without further ado, here is the clip.
On the 22nd of September, a missile hit the Black Sea Fleet headquarters in Sevastopol, occupied Crimea, supposedly killing the admiral of the Black Sea Fleet, Viktor Sokolov, along with 33 other Russian officers. But then, the Russian government published 2 videos supposedly showing Sokolov. So, is he alive? Maybe, but as usual, there seems to be something fishy about it. The first video shows him at a meeting, but we never hear him speak, at all. So, it could be an old recording of him slid in or some other sorcery. The second video shows him speaking, but the video released on September 27th also shows Sokolov at an awards ceremony congratulating members of the Black Sea Fleet football team for their performance in the tournament, which already ended on September 18th. In an interview following the commentary, he supposedly comments on the strike on the headquarters and his own death, however without any clear mention of anything really. See for yourself.
А что у нас случилось? У нас ничего не случилось, жизнь продолжается. Черноморский флот выполняет задачи, которые поставил на командование перед ним.
Regardless, the Ukrainian side has vowed to double-check their sources on whether his death can in fact be confirmed. At this moment, anything is possible. But it's not really any use for Ukraine to just announce someone's elimination without it actually being true, because the whole point of the operation is to stop someone from doing their job. Of course, some people miraculously survive the most unsurvivable events. But for Russia, there's also a good reason to hide such a loss. Apart from losing an important commander, his death would also be a huge embarrassment. That being said, the death of any higher military commander is a sensitive topic on both sides. Sometimes it really isn't easy to know the truth. Actually, it quite often isn't that easy. So, welcome to Talking Tactics, where this week we want to give you a short overview of the highest-ranking Russian officers killed or presumably eliminated by Ukraine in the past 20 months of war. We also want to give a couple of examples of how contradicting information can spread in light of such events and how hard it sometimes is to know the truth. Anyway, down to business. The first to go was Andrei Sukhovetsky, Major General, Deputy Commander of the 31st Combined Arms Army.
Oh, that guy.
Killed by a sniper in the Chernihiv region in late February, early March 2022.
Man, I remember that was the first guy to get killed. We actually reported that on the channel because he was the first general to ever die in the war. So it was a huge deal when it happened, and we were all like, oh my god, a general just died. And I think he died because his unit was actually too close to the lines. There's some confusion about where the Russian forces really were, so they got so close to the Ukrainian lines that a sniper just ended up picking him off, I believe. Or, I believe that may have been another story. I think this story was actually that he was at a command post, and somehow snipers of the Ukrainian army had just snuck behind the lines and then ended up shooting him pretty much at their headquarters, which was pretty cool nonetheless.
His death was confirmed by the Russian side. By the way, in the Russian army, the rank of Major General equals a 1-star or Brigadier General in a Western army. If you're not familiar with the ranking system, typically a full general has 4 stars and then it goes down. 3 for a Lieutenant General, 2 for a Major General, and a 1-star general is a Brigadier General. In the Russian army, it's a little bit different. As just mentioned, a Major General has 1 star. A Lieutenant General has 2 stars. A 3-star general is a Colonel General. A 4-star general doesn't exist. The rank is called Army General. He carries 1 star plus a red star wrapped in a laurel wreath. Anyway, back to the topic at hand. Second to go was Major General Andrei Kolesnikov, commander of the 29th Combined Arms Army of the Eastern Military District, deployed before Ukraine in Syria, killed on the 11th of March. Third was Oleg Mityaev, who also held the rank of Major General and was commander of the 150th Motorized Rifle Division. He was killed in the battle for Mariupol on the 15th of March. The Azov battalion claimed responsibility for Mityaev's death, which was also indirectly confirmed by pro-Russian Telegram channels. Major General Vladimir Frolov, Deputy Commander of the 8th Guards Combined Arms Army, killed on April 10, 2022. The circumstances of his death are not clear, however the Russian side has confirmed his timely demise. Number 5, Major General Andrei Simonov, Deputy Chief of the Electronic Warfare Troops of the Russian Armed Forces. He was eliminated on April 29, 2022 near the town of Izyum, after an artillery strike.
Man, when that guy get taken? I don't recall that one.
Arms Army.
Oh, wait a minute. Yeah, I just saw the clip. I know where he got knocked out.
Second Combined.
Remember, that was in... Damn, I forgot where it was. I think it was actually in the south, near the Zaporizhia area. The Grad strike was fired at him because their headquarters was so close. He had used a cell phone, remember, Matthew, to call someone, and the Ukrainians geolocated his position from the cell phone call, and they called in the Grad barrage, and that was the clip of the Grad barrage hitting on the headquarters.
Okay, yeah, I remember that one now. I definitely remember that one.
Yeah, that one was crazy because I remember back in the day, generals were getting killed left and right because they were using personal cell phones near the front lines, and they were just being tracked back to their exact locations from the phone calls, and this was one of them. But anyways, getting back to the clip.
And Arms Army. Kanamat Botashev, a retired Air Force general who participated in the war as a member of the PMC Wagner. Botashev's Su-25 was shot down by the armed forces of Ukraine on the 22nd of May. The Russian side also confirmed his death. Lieutenant General Roman Kutuzov, killed in action on the 5th of June, first deputy commander of the 8th Guards Combined Arms Army. Also served as commander of the 1st Army Corps fighting under the flag of the so-called Donetsk People's Republic. Killed in Nikolaevka in Luhansk Oblast. His death also confirmed by the Russian side. Major General Dmitry Ulyanov, killed on the 6th of February 2023. Ulyanov was in fact previously retired, but reinstated as commander of a regiment formed from mobilized men from Tatarstan. Major General Sergei Garyachev. At the beginning of the invasion, Garyachev was commander of the 5th Tank Brigade before being promoted to Chief of Staff of the 35th Combined Arms Army. Russian propagandists called him one of the brightest and most effective military commanders of the highest professionalism. He died on June 12th, supposedly by a Storm Shadow missile strike in the region of Zaporizhia. Number 10, Oleg Tsokov, Deputy Commander of the Southern Military District. He died in a strike on the 58th Army's Reserve Command Post in Berdyansk during the Ukrainian counteroffensive in July. There are a couple of more complicated or contested cases. Vitaly Gerasimov, not to confuse with Valery Gerasimov, the Chief of General Staff. Lieutenant General Vitaly Gerasimov served as the first commander of the 41st Combined Arms Army of the Russian Federation. His death on March 7, 2022 near Kharkiv was reported by the main intelligence directorate of Ukraine. This was later even confirmed by the investigative media platform Bellingcat. However, he was later allegedly seen at the awards ceremony of the Order of Alexander Nevsky, so whether he's really dead is unknown. Another case is that of Lieutenant General Yakov Ryazantsev, commander of the 49th Combined Arms Army. Reportedly killed on the 25th of March by an artillery strike at the airbase in Chernobyevka, Kherson Oblast. But also his death is contested.
Man, it's wild. It's wild how, like, some of these people... It's wild how some of these people, like this guy right here, you don't even remember. But when the first general got taken out and eliminated, that was, like, huge. That was major. Like, everybody was shocked. Everybody was like, dang, Ukraine just took out a general. And then, like, they got so, like, proficient at it, like, just taking out these high-ranking Russians, you don't even know or remember some of these people even being taken out.
Yeah, it's kind of like how the drone attacks on Moscow were massive when they started, and now it's just background noise. No one even really cares to even talk about the drone attacks on Moscow because they just happen so much. It's kind of like that. Honestly, the Ukrainians do such a good job at most things, like taking out generals, that it just kind of starts to mix into white noise in the war, and it's you kind of lose the shock value of these guys are commanding entire army groups in Ukraine and they're getting killed. And that's a big deal. You know, there's not a lot of these guys inside of Ukraine. There's probably, I would assume, at best, maybe 25 generals inside of the entire theater on the Russian side. And they're wiping them out. I mean, you know, over the course of the war, 11 of them knocked out so far in the video. That's pretty damn high. And so...
February 2023, he was listed by the Ukrainian government's war criminals database as alive. Anyhow, if you're asking yourself how come so many Russian generals have died in the war, well, there are a couple of answers as usual. For example, a disproportionately high amount of security leaks. Another is the fact that in the Russian army, lower-ranking generals are supposedly forced to take a hands-on approach due to low morale and discipline. Another reason for so many generals being so close to the front line is that they lack an efficiently centralized command structure like in Western armies, where the whole war is navigated on one platform. So there is a large need for some sort of authority figure on the ground to avoid everything descending into chaos. It's hard to know exactly, and like in most cases, there's probably a bit of truth in all these theories. Anyway, we hope that we are able to show you that being a high-ranking Russian officer involved somehow in the illegal and brutal invasion of Ukraine is a dangerous job, and we do not recommend it. Thanks for watching Talking Tactics. Hit like and subscribe.
Does not recommend
and see you next
week. Man, he's out here giving travel tips. But with that, that's the end of the clip. Of course, amazing to see another United 24 clip coming out from United 24 Media, and great to know that we all stand side by side in the same cause of supporting Ukraine until the very end, which this channel has continuously done for 6 days a week ever since the first day of this war. I'd also like to take a quick moment before we move on to the next one to give a quick condolence to BC Skyman, who unfortunately lost his uncle today, aged 86. I've seen a lot of people giving you condolences, and unfortunately I didn't get to see the first message that was sent in, but I just saw it, and I'd like to say I'm terribly sorry about that, and I hate to hear that something like that's happened. Of course, family members are not always going to be around forever, and it's always very important to make sure to cherish your family members while they're here, you know, especially if you actually love them and you're on good terms with them. And so, of course, like that mom always says, make sure to go around and call up your family and check on them every once in a while, especially if you love them, because one day they won't be around for you to even talk to them anymore. So once again, my condolences, BC Skyman, and I absolutely hate to hear that. But moving on from that and into our next clip, we also got to see a FPV drone hitting some Russian forces at an unknown location today. We can see the Russians filming in the distance, and we can hear the Ukrainian drone coming for them. And it's flying in. And we hear the Ukrainian drone whizzing around over their heads, and then coming in.
Good lord.
Oh. Damn. It appears that the foxhole is now on fire. The Russians are hopping out as quick as they can and running for the hills. And with that,
Damn.
that's the end of that clip, but y'all can see right there what the receiving end of a Ukrainian FPV drone attack looks like when you're lucky and you end up making it out, like these guys did. Pretty damn scary, I'm not going to lie, and that thing sounded like a giant mosquito, which makes it very, very interesting to hear, because you'd never expect them to sound like that until you listen to a clip of them. Moving on from that and into the next clip, we also got to see new Russian decoys that the Russians are putting out on the front lines to try and encourage the Ukrainian drone pilots to hit. These are literally mannequins just wearing some body armor and some fake helmets, and what their intent is to draw in Ukrainian fire at these mannequins more so than the actual soldiers. Whether this is really going to work or not is up to question. From a distance, these are actually probably really realistic looking, I would have to say, because, you know, out of 300 to 400 yards, you can't tell that their face is made out of plastic. So pretty interesting to see them trying to use dummies like this. We can also see a dummy, it looks like a MT-12 Rapira, sort of. So they might be trying to go for that. We can also see another mannequin set up. And it looks like they're really trying to get into this mannequin game incredibly well to try and draw in Ukrainian fire and waste valuable Ukrainian ammunition and resources. Whether the Ukrainians are going to fall for this or not, I'm somewhat in the middle on this, because from a distance, you know, flying a drone, even with a 4K camera around, this will probably look like, from about 500, 600 yards away, like that really is a Russian soldier with an MT-12 Rapira. And so they may end up actually attacking these things, or they may not. I'm not really sure. We'll have to wait and see if the Ukrainians start noticing this stuff. But with that, we are now going to be moving on from that little bit and on into our last bit of location unknown news, which is the Russian casualty report over the past 24 hours, which has been impressive, to say the least. 3 Bobcat skid steers have been destroyed over the past 24 hours.
Damn. Man, these like losses are high as hell, like in every category.
Yeah, and I gotta tell you, the artillery losses are looking pretty rough today. I'm not gonna lie. We'll get to that in a second, though. But 3 Bobcat skid steers, of course, knocked out. Absolutely wonderful to see. And moving on into the rest of the casualty report, 620 Russian soldiers have been liquidated over the past 24 hours, along with 30 armored personnel carriers, which is the exact number needed to equip a battalion tactical group with every single armored personnel carrier they would need. Also, 35 supply trucks as well, which is an impressively high number, along with 20 main battle tanks. That's enough main battle tanks to supply 2 battalion tactical groups with enough tanks to keep them running. 23 artillery pieces were knocked out as well today. The Ukrainian counter battery didn't appear to do as good today as it has yesterday and the day before, but it did bring the number up to 6,666. And I gotta say, that's really symbolic, considering that the Russian artillery is the literal right arm of Satan. So kind of funny to see that the number would match up exactly with what it is. But we also got to see that 29 drones were shot down, along with 2 MLRSs being destroyed. All in all, today was a very impressive day for the Ukrainian armed forces and the amount of casualties that they were able to inflict onto Russian forces. And I've got to say that that is really something to see, that the Russians suffered such significant losses, especially in frontline vehicle categories, than we've ever seen. And so, moving on from the casualty report, it's now time for us to move on into the rest of the Ukrainian front lines and what's been going on in those areas today. But, of course, as many of y'all may know, tradition always dictates that we take a little look at what's been going on in the live chat tonight. The live chat has been moving incredibly quickly tonight, of course, talking about the news that's been going on inside of the war in Ukraine and the news of what's been going on around the YouTube sphere. I'm going to have to make a note really quickly that we are going to be trying to address the YouTube sphere as little as possible tonight. Unlike other people, we actually do try and support Ukraine, and that's largely what this news is about. We usually save this kind of stuff for the question segment at the very end of the stream when we're not trying to cover the news, but we will, if y'all are, of course, bringing it up in the super chat or a live chat or something, and we have to address it, we will address it very briefly. But I'm not wanting to make a big deal out of this, unlike other people and other channels who have decided that they apparently know what's best and don't even know all the facts. But nevertheless, what do we got, Matthew?
All right, so jumping into our first poll and question segment. Our first poll says, do you think the West will retaliate against North Korea for supplying arms to Russia? And also, if you watched the short war summary earlier today, you know that North Korea is now providing artillery to Russia. The shipments are currently underway, and it's getting pretty bad. So the U.S. has promised to respond, so the question is, do you think the West will actually do it? 36% said, it will respond kind of weakly. 31% said yes, the West will respond harshly. 23% said no, the West won't respond at all, and 10% said unsure. And on this one, it's kind of tough because I'm not really sure exactly what the West can really do to North Korea, short of nuking the country, to actually put the hurt on them. They're already the hermit kingdom. They're cut off from the rest of the world, and I'm not really sure what can be done. It might just end up turning out to be very harsh words lobbed at North Korea. That is my assumption of what's going to happen, but we really can't tell at the moment. But it's certainly not good to see North Korea giving weapons to Russia while Ukraine is having a very hard time getting aid from international donors. But Enforcer, what say you?
I would have to say that there are very few things that we could do to North Korea at this point. The sanctions that have already been applied to the North Koreans for decades are so severe that we are really left without hand at this point. We are suffocating them with sanctions for about 20 years at this point. One thing we could do, however, is we could shut down the humanitarian aid that's being shipped into North Korea, but really all that does is end up starving more North Korean citizens to death who may be innocent parties in the matter. So I'm not really sure. And I see a lot of people saying stop sending North Korea food. And it's an idea, it's really one of the few things we can actually do in response to what the North Koreans have done. But at the same time, you always have to think there are innocent civilians inside of North Korea, and they are the ones usually eating the food. And so it makes you wonder, is that really worth it or not? And in this situation, we kind of are forced to kind of go with that decision. There's really nothing else we can do. We can't sanction them and stop them from getting foreign goods. We've already done that. We can't sanction their banking transactions. We've already done that. There's practically an embargo against any goods entering North Korea, and so we're really at a loss of anything to do rather than to cut off the humanitarian aid. So I guess that's one thing we can do. The North Koreans will probably start their nuclear threats if we do that, and we'll have to deal with that on its own. Or, as a very extreme option, we could blow up the friendship bridge that crosses over the Tumen River in between North Korea and the Russian Federation, but that will most likely be considered by both the Russians and the North Koreans as an outright act of war, which is something that we've been largely trying to avoid with the Russians, and I think we've mostly been trying to avoid with the North Koreans as well, considering that both of them are nuclear powers, and we usually don't want to try and get involved in conventional wars with nuclear countries. You never know how that's going to turn out, especially considering that nuclear weapons are at the end of the pipe. But with that, I hope that addresses that poll fairly well, at least with what our possible options are, and I hate to say it, and I hate to sound pessimistic about it, but our options with how to deal with the North Koreans are incredibly slim. But with that, we are on to the next one.
If North Korea simply took 10% of Kim's food supply and gave it to the people, that country would probably be well fed for years. Like, it would probably be so well fed. Man, that guy eats like a king. Like, I've seen pictures of it. That guy eats like a straight up king. And meanwhile, everybody else in the country is like literally, I think some people are literally eating rocks or something. Like in some parts of the country, it's so bad, like the famine and stuff like that. And it's routine. It's not just like one time, like they had a famine or something like that. That's the propaganda. They're all, in a really bad shape, but the leader's eating well.
And that's true. I mean, like, if you really took some of the food that he's getting and just spread it around a little bit, I think they would be in a much better state than they are right now. No doubt about it. And so with that, I hope that does address that fairly well, and we are on to the next one.
All right, and we only had one poll during our first poll segment because we have the bots coming in strong, and that does take away my focus just a little bit. But moving on to our Super Chat questions, we've had a ton of really good questions come in tonight and a lot of support. And first off, big thanks to you all for the support and also for hitting the like button as well. Like I said in the live chat a moment ago, it really does mean a lot. We've been kicked and kicked and kicked again, and it seems like everybody wants to take a kick at us. And it's good to know that y'all support us and are helping to keep this thing running, because sometimes it gets very tiring to have to come home every day after having an exhausting day at law school and deal with crap from thugs that are unemployed that don't have anything better to do. But anyways, moving on to our first super chat, we have a $100 donation from Majora, and a big thanks to Majora. And I believe that is their first support of the channel. They put in a $100 donation. Yes, I believe so. And thank you very much, Majora. And also, welcome to the LSA if you are new. And if you're not, I'm sorry. And they said, never been able to support before, but I have always wanted to. And you guys are great. And don't let anyone ever tell you otherwise. And long live the LSA, Slav Ukraine, and live chat question, please.
And I thank you so much for the support, Majora, and helping the channel to keep on running. Of course, the support helps us to do this as a job. And I've got to thank you so much for that, because it's the only way we can keep this channel running, which is a pretty unique thing. We're the only channel on the platform. Well, I think we're the only channel in this arena that works like that at all, and that's I'm not even going to go into that. But anyways, thank you so much for the massive amount of support, and thank you for helping the channel to keep on running, especially tonight, considering that tonight is certainly a night of nights as far as it goes for us, because you go to law school at 6 in the morning, we get there at 7, and then we sit there all day until 2 o'clock. And then we come home, and then we get kicked in the teeth by random people who don't even think about the actual facts of what they're backing up or supporting or who they're supporting. And I got to thank you so much once again for saying don't let anyone tell us otherwise. We're not. And we are not going to fold to pressure to relent on what we've done. What we've done is completely in the right, given the circumstances. I'm not going to back down over that. I'm not going to allow people to pressure us over other channels being pro-Ukrainian. We're pro-Ukrainian, and does that mean that we need to be living in fear of our lives every day because someone is continuously out there doxing our home and our location and where we live? That doesn't seem right at all. That goes beyond supporting Ukraine. That's something personal and something that threatens our lives. If people want to support that, I don't want to listen to them. But still, thank you so much once again for support, Majora, and helping the channel to keep on running. And long live the Lee Spring Army and Slava Ukraini. And what do we have for a live chat, Matthew?
All right, and our live chat question goes to Jexa. And also, everyone else, feel free to send in live chats as well. I only have 5. And Jexa says, I would like to hear more about the Moscow drone strikes.
The Moscow drone strikes have been a reoccurring kind of attack campaign conducted by Ukrainian drone forces against the capital city of Moscow. Moscow has a population of around 11 million people, making it the largest city inside of Russia, housing approximately 10% of its population. Moscow is also a major military hub and industrial hub as well for the Russian Federation, which has made it a primary target for Ukrainian forces to try and reach and attack. It's also the government hub of the Russian Federation as well, considering that the Russian government is centralized. Because of this, Ukrainian attacks have been targeting not just the Moscow city area, which is a built-up financial district and also governmental administration district, but they've also been attacking places like the Kremlin and military infrastructure around the city as well, including some of the far-reaching airports, such as the ones at Khutovo out here, which we've seen attacked, among several others. The attacks are largely meant to try and mitigate the abilities of the Russian Federation to wage the war, and to also bring into the mind of the Russian populace that the war may not be as successful as the Russian government has been leading them to believe. Attacks on Moscow have been more and more frequent as time keeps going by. We've seen that these attacks have started to occur on nearly a bi-weekly or weekly basis at this point, with Ukrainian drones landing onto Russian military targets around the entirety of the city of Moscow, even going as far as going into the nature reserve called the National Park Elk Island, where they also hit some kind of a Russian surface-to-air missile system there, which was assumed to have been a Pantsir S-1. But that's largely the breakdown of how the Ukrainian drone attacks have been occurring on Moscow, and I hope that addresses your question the best I can. And so with that, thank you so much once again for support, Majora. I hope that did address that live chat. And with that being said, we are on to the next one.
All right, and moving on to our next one, we have the return of a channel legend. Activista is back, and he throws in a $300 donation. Good Lord. Thank you very much, Activista. That is massive support, and big thanks to you for that. And also, it's good to see you once again, because I was wondering, where is Activista? And now we know he's back. And I don't think there was a comment attached to it, which I hate to see, because a $300 donation deserves a comment to be addressed. So if you have one for us, send it in, because we want to address at least something.
And actually, I did see that Activista did leave a live chat where he added both of us. It didn't show up as orange, though. That's probably why you didn't see it. But he said, glad I'm finally able to give support to you both. It's truly well-deserved. And I gotta thank you so much for the kind words, Activista. I don't know if that's because of what happened today, or if you just enjoyed the channel enough to support us like that, but I do have to thank you greatly. You help our channel to keep on running. You help us to do this as a job. And I've got to thank you so much once again for the support, because folks like you have made it possible for us to continue running and covering this war for 590 days and help us to keep on running it well into the future. It's massive support that honestly we don't even deserve, but we are entirely honored and greatly appreciative to know that you find this channel worthwhile that much to support us that greatly. That's truly unbelievable, and I got to thank you so much once again for the kind words as well. And so with that, thank you so much once again for the support, Activista, and helping this channel to keep on running. An absolute old guard of the Lee Spring Army, has been around pretty much since the dawn of time on this channel, probably around since day 4. And I've got to say, that it's absolutely incredible to have you here with us tonight again, Activista, and helping us to keep this thing running. He also said it's for the Fighting Ass Clowns Fund, and rest assured, we are going to keep on fighting him, and I got to thank you for that. It's something else, and I don't mean to say this, every time, but considering that it was brought up there, it is something else for Ukraine war people to turn a blind eye to someone who has been going out of their way to try and actually threaten our lives. And another YouTuber stepped in on their behalf and said that they were going to break into our house at 3 in the morning and change our lives. And tell me that doesn't sound threatening to you. Tell me that's something that wouldn't make you concerned. And they're going to turn a blind eye to stuff like that, and people taking pictures of our back porch and stuff somehow and posting that on Twitter. And then they're going to sit there and make it sound like we're in the wrong because we're trying to protect ourselves from some kind of a stalker who is trying to send people to threaten our lives. That's honestly insane to me. That's unbelievable. And it's even crazier to think that on YouTube, the people who whine the loudest are the people who are heard the most. It's insane to me. It's absolutely nuts. Because if you've seen what we've gone through and what we've done, the story that people are putting out about us is downright false. It's just a complete lie. And so, and then what's even crazier is that they sit there and say, why haven't they tried to resolve it? We have. So many times. You can even go to that guy's YouTube channel and scroll through his community posts where he's screenshotted Matthew's emails, probably all of them, where we tried to resolve it with him, and put it up and then said, they can kiss my ass. I don't want to resolve it. I want to ruin their lives.
Yeah, and that's the crazy thing. Like, we have been kicked in the teeth for months, and throughout the entire ordeal, I was telling Enforcer, I was saying, even though we've been harmed significantly and everything's happened and stuff like that, peace is always preferable. Let's reach out to the guy. We did it 1 time, 2 times, and then 3 times. Each and every single time the guy spit in our face. At one point, we even offered to drop the lawsuit, forego any cost being paid by him, and we literally just settle it. And he went silent and never responded.
Well, actually,
I mean,
the reason why
I think
the reason why he went silent and never responded is because we said that one of the agreements we would make for us to drop the lawsuit is that we wouldn't talk about him again and he wouldn't talk about us again. And that was completely unacceptable.
Couldn't have that term in there. That would be an unacceptable term. You got to be able to bash, because when you settle something, it's always appropriate to keep bashing somebody, right? That's the way you settle a beef, is you continue the harassment after you've settled it. Yeah. That's just bullcrap all the way around. But one thing I will say is this: you'll notice that the people that come to his aid are very one-sided. Like, for example, with Ukraine Matters, very, very one-sided. And we've tried to keep it quiet with these people because we don't want to fight everybody. We don't want to fight the world. And right now, it feels like we're fighting the world at this point because Mercado is recruiting these people to come and bother us. And Ukraine Matters actually banned me out of his Discord about a month or 2 ago. And we never mentioned it to, not cause a fight. But he took Mercado's side back then as well, and we kept it quiet, and now he's come out and made the even bolder step of making a video, which has cost us about 1,000 subscribers thus far, because of the disingenuous statements made by Ukraine Matters on his stream. And we even had him on, if y'all recall, on our channel. We helped him grow his channel to the point it's at currently. And he has now turned his audience and tried to weaponize it against us, which is a very kind way to repay our kindness by bringing him on and helping build his audience.
And something that's very interesting to me as well is that we actually reached out to them because back in the day, Mercado's people actually lied and photoshopped a picture of a Lee Spring Army truck that had been raised by Mark, who's here tonight. He had raised the funds for the majority of that truck, and he put the Lee Spring Army sends its regards or something like that on the side. And we got the picture from a viewer, and we showed it on stream. Mercado's people went and airbrushed Ukraine Matters name out of the picture and then said we showed that on stream. And so we went and clarified it with him, and so his response was to ban Matthew from his Discord. And then when I asked him, I said, hey, my brother was just banned from your Discord. Why did that happen? Never responded to me again. And we said,
I also recall he when he got off our show, he also bashed us as well. We never mentioned that, but we never mentioned him by name on that either. When he got off our anniversary show, he came out and bashed us, saying he didn't like the format, stuff like that. Showed no gratitude for coming on, even though we said we appreciated all the guests coming on. He went out of his way to make a comment. I think then he backtracked it a little bit, but still, like, the guy's mindset is all over the place. He doesn't seem to be very intelligent, to be perfectly honest.
Well, I'm not gonna bash him like that. I'm got to say this though. After our dealings with him, I'm not a big fan of him. He's largely the reason why we haven't had guests on again, because it just seemed like, he came on, and at that time, I think he had 60,000 subscribers. After he was on our show, he had 65,000 of them just over the course of the next 2 days. And so, we plugged his channel greatly. I had nothing but great things to say about him before that. And then he came on here. We asked him a simple question on the live show about a poll, and considering he was a European, we were like, that would be an interesting discussion to have. Got offended immediately, and it didn't really go well. Got off on kind of bad terms after that. And then since then, there's been like this little passive-aggressive thing going on with him where he's not really been for us, although we plugged him and have never said anything negative about him publicly. And so, that's something
He also jumped in the middle of the United 24 misunderstanding as well, and interjected himself in the middle of that, and basically tried to say, he didn't mention us by name, but he replied in the same thread that we were going back and forth with United 24, and said, if you would like some support, I would be glad to lend some support on my channel, like trying to be sarcastic and sort of, that kind of shady stuff that people do, that what they're up to, but you really just can't place it, just that kind of stuff.
Yeah, and what was interesting about that is that if y'all don't know, and Matthew's referencing it here, I'll try and explain this real quick. We actually ended up getting in a scuffle with United 24's Twitter account, because here's something that y'all probably don't know, and we didn't know, is that United 24 is actually made up of different departments, which we thought they were all the same. So when we got an email from United 24 Media, which is a part of United 24, they wanted us to affiliate with them and share their videos like we did tonight, so we said sure, and we started doing that. It was a long email exchange. We had like 5 different email messages with this Eugene Rashman, who is a media director at United 24 Media. So we do that, and then Mercado's people on Twitter go and at the United 24 fundraising account and say, hey, these scammers aren't even related to y'all. And then the United 24 account said, oh, well, that wouldn't be the first time. And they just took it at face value. So we said, well, wait a minute, what do you mean? Like, we are affiliated with y'all. We showed the emails. And then they confirmed that we actually were working with United 24 Media. We reached out to United 24 Media. They confirmed we were affiliated with them and working with them. And it was a flat out lie. And it was once again propagated by his community. And then Ukraine Matters decided in the middle of that misunderstanding to shove himself into that and try and go, well, I could support United 24. It's like, why? It's like, this is a whole thing going on between us because of this guy over here, and you're taking advantage of a situation.
And also one more thing, we're about to get back to the news like here instantly. I'm just going to make a very quick thing because I want to make sure that we're 100% accurate about everything down to the precise level. I want to say, I mentioned Jake Bro earlier. Jake Bro has never responded to our messages. We tried to give him some context so that way he could correct the statements that he made, suggesting that we were trying to sabotage Mercado's channel. He never responded. I don't think he's responded even up to this point. He said basically he did not care, and he didn't remove his post that he put on Mercado's thing saying that we were trying to sabotage him. So Jake didn't nearly go quite as extreme as Ukraine Matters did. Ukraine Matters just posted something that was just disingenuous all the way around, suggesting that we were attacking Mercado, which we're not. We're simply defending our copyright. But it's costing us subscribers and it's pissing us off, and obviously we're not happy about it. But people got to make up their minds whether or not you're going to support the guy from this point forward, because obviously he's not perfectly being straight up with everyone.
And I got to say this really quickly, and because people are going to go, oh, why do you not support Ukraine? No, we do. But the amount of crap that we've gotten behind the scenes from not just Mercado Media, for all the reasons that's happened, but also now from Jake Bro, who we really have not had a lot of dealings with, and then also Ukraine Matters, who we've had on our show before and have promoted, that seems very disingenuous. And also for them to come in and make statements where they
without knowing all the facts.
Yeah,
who does that?
Like, without knowing all the facts. Like, they didn't even ask us, hey, what's going on with this? This seems pretty extreme. They just come in immediately and go, hey, this seems wrong. It's like, well, I bet you if we put out your home address out there for the world to see and then encourage people to go to your house, I have a feeling that you wouldn't find this to be that out of the realm of necessity, especially considering that the guy then ripped our videos and pieces of them and just played minutes of them on end, or just played the videos without any context or clips of them. That is absolutely copyright infringement, and that's why you could see that on Mercado's channel today, he sat there and said, I have tried to appeal these and YouTube's rejected it. We've had copyright strikes. And
let me go even further than that. Now, let me make sure I'm quoting this properly. Let me go to the Twitter, because I actually took a screenshot of it. YouTube even went as far to say this about Mercado's counterclaim. They said that to Mercado, we think it's possible you are misusing our counter notification process And if you're sure you have all the necessary rights, then you can resubmit. And they rejected his counter notification. So YouTube themselves, I'm not sure if that was a human or automated system, even suggested to Mercado that it detected misuse of their system because he was obviously making claims that were not true. He does not own that content that he had in his video, and that is an infringement by definition. And for him to sit there and pretend like he has a right to play that content is absolutely insane.
It is, and it's something that I don't think people understand. We own.
But unfortunately, we have to get to the news.
We have to get back to the news. But I do thank you so much once again for the support, Activista. I hope that does address that fairly well. We actually have to get to one more question before we get back to the news. And so, who is the final question of this segment before we get back into the news?
All right. So the final super chat of this segment is going to go to Mark, incompetent drone operator, who puts in a $100 donation, and he is obviously a channel legend, longtime channel legend, up there with the legends like BC Skyman and Activista. And thank you very much for that support. He says, let's see here. Let's see. I'm not sure how to pronounce that, but it translates to don't let the barsta words grind you down in fake Latin. And better Latin would be ni nothing, ter ti.
And I gotta thank you so much for the support, Mark. And I believe that was supposed to be Latin that Matthew may have not been able to read off. And let me make sure it was.
Yeah.
Let me actually go over there and pop over to it because maybe I can try and read it. Let's see. Actually, Mark threw in two. I just got to the first one, which is the most recent one. He said, "Ni ili getimi corondum est." Don't let the bar stewards grind you down in fake Latin. Better Latin would be ne noti terite. And I don't know how to pronounce Latin, unfortunately. I don't think anyone does, but I thank you for the support, Mark. We try and not let them tear us down, but when you sit there and you watch 700 subscribers today just about listen to false statements that don't even have all of the facts considered, it is somewhat discouraging, to say the least, especially considering that, unlike really every other YouTuber out there, we've never taken a holiday doing this. And that's something that I think really shows how dedicated we are to this, because everyone keeps on saying, oh, they do this as a job, they're making money off of it. And I don't make any qualms about that. Yeah, we do. It's a job. You know, you make money doing a job. But if everyone was talking like that and that was the truth, why wouldn't we have taken a holiday at this point? Why in the world do we care so much about the war that we never take days off? We never do. Unless if Matthew is deathly sick or if it's Thanksgiving or Christmas, we don't take holidays, ever. So, you know, it's like if we weren't that dedicated to the cause, why in the world does that speak for itself? I don't know. But still, thank you so much for the support, Mark, and thank you for throwing in some kind words and, of course, helping the channel to keep on running, because folks like you do make this thing possible. And if it wasn't for folks like you, it wouldn't be possible for us to keep this channel running. And so with that, thank you so much once again. I hope that does address that fairly well. And with that, it's finally time for us to get back into the news, starting off on the Ukrainian front lines in the northeast. And I have to quickly summarize the front line today as minimal frontline activity as far as frontline changes. There have been some very interesting video clips that have come out today of the Ukrainian forces, of course, engaging in their normal frontline activities, but nonetheless, this has not culminated into any meaningful frontline advances through most areas of the front line. Hopefully it will, though, because the losses were significant today on the Russian side, and that may be showing that some Russian units may have been disintegrated due to today's fighting. But starting off with our first clip, we got some pictures of a Russian column that had been destroyed in the northeastern part of the front line after a failed attack. These destroyed vehicles include a T-90M Breakthrough, as well as a T-80B VM, a T-72B, we're not sure what variant, a Grad missile launcher, as well as two other T-72s, or T-72 series main battle tanks, and then a T-90, I believe, and another T-72B3. The losses in this part of the front line were incredibly significant and showing that this column was most likely ambushed. Considering that they were still moving down the road when they were attacked and there is no rust on them, meaning that this destruction of these vehicles is fresh, that certainly means that the Ukrainians were able to destroy this unit when it wasn't even ready for combat. So with that, I hope that does cover that quite well. And moving on behind the lines towards Verbove, we also got to see a brand new Russian artillery system that was just being introduced to Ukraine, which is called the 2S-40 Phlox, being destroyed by Ukrainian FPV drone. We can see the drone flying in onto the Phlox, and we can actually see a picture, or a video more so, of the Phlox right here. It largely appears to be an older artillery piece that has been mounted onto the back of a truck. This is a fairly normal way of trying to modernize the towed artillery, But this system is brand new to the Russian army. And we can see right here that the Ukrainian Armed Forces was able to confirm its destruction today on its telegram. And we can now see the FPV drone flying on into the back of the flux and getting ready to wipe it out. And we see another video of the flux right there firing. We can see the drone coming on in. The flux turned on its headlights to help guide it. And then at the end, it was destroyed. Absolutely wonderful to see. Love to know that the brand new Russian SPG was destroyed as soon as it was introduced to Frontline service. And with that, we're now going to be moving on into the area of Kreminna, where we also got to see some Ukrainian soldiers in action in the forest line. And also, really quickly, riddle me this. When someone doxes your house, you tell me how you respond to that. I don't care who they are. I don't care if they support Jesus Christ reincarnation.
He's not talking about the LSA. You didn't read that last part.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm so sorry.
Man.
I'm so sorry, man. I was ready to give smoke. I'm so sorry, man. But anyways, getting on to this clip, we see Ukrainian soldiers in the trench in the Kreminna forest.
Jeez.
And we see them come under a heavy artillery barrage, laying low. The video clip ends. Hold up. What the hell? Is that a foul? That kind of looks like a foul. I can't really tell, but that is really cool. And I gotta say, absolutely impressive to see that the Ukrainian soldiers were able to handle that barrage quite well. Of course, hitting the deck immediately and then getting back into the march, more so, through the woods. Moving on from that and into our next clip, I believe, and let me make sure to double check this, this is actually a duplicate from earlier because this was also located at the Kreminna front, so we have this listed in 2 places. There are additional pictures in this clip, so we will keep it on the map, but it's once again showing the Russian forces that were obliterated in the northeast today in that column. And so with that, we're now going to be moving on from that little bit of picture evidence showing Russian devastation in that area of the line, and with that, we're now going to be moving on into the Bakhmut front, where once again we haven't seen major frontline activity or advances today, but nevertheless, the Ukrainians have been fighting incredibly well and quite heroically against Russian forces in this area. And one of our first clips shows a compilation of drone attacks at Bakhmut by Ukrainian forces. And we're going to be muting this, because I believe it has copyrighted audio, but we can see the drone flying into the area, and of course getting ready to target one of the skyscrapers, heading right into the roof and slamming into a Russian base. We can now see the Russians setting up in a small house on the outskirts, and that was also hit by a drone as well. We can now see the Russians continuously getting targeted. It seems like the Ukrainians are flying these right into the windows incredibly well.
Man, they fly those things right into windows so well.
Man, the Russians be falling out of windows. The Ukrainians be flying into windows. And we can now see the drones taking out some vehicles as well. We can also see them hitting what appeared to be like a Ford pickup truck, also an electronic warfare station on top of a skyscraper. Another Russian Lada, it appeared, a Lada Niva. We can also see them once again colliding with a commercial supply truck now being used for military logistics. We can also see them hitting a Scooby-Doo van, flying into another residential building at the top floor. It appears that it started a fire.
Was that just duct taped onto the bottom of it?
I think so. It works. It works. So we can't complain about it too much. But we can see the next drone hitting another supply truck on one of the major highways, running into the back of a van, running into what appears to be another commercial van. We can see that a lot of the Russian logistics in this area are using commercial vans, showing that the major part of their logistics forces have been destroyed earlier on in the battle, and they've now had to requisition civilian vehicles to try and make some use of supply lines. But we can see them continuously hitting multiple vehicles across the entirety of the front line. See them striking electronic warfare stations on top of buildings. Striking more trucks, and I gotta say, the compilation here is unbelievable. The amount of vehicles and equipment that they have hit just over the amount of time that this video was compiled over is unbelievable. We can now see them hitting another vehicle as well, and we can see that the losses are significantly high, at least in the Russian logistics from this video. We see them continuously hitting. Oh my god, this one was spinning out of control. Like, they saw the drone and they tried to swerve, and look, it just started skidding down the road right into the drone. That didn't work well for him. And with that,
man, we're getting a lot of those owl videos recently.
And we're getting a lot of videos, and I believe that is the Ukrainian Robotyne. So very nice to see the Robotyne at work, of course, destroying Russian equipment all over the area of Bakhmut, and of course attacking the supply lines. Also, really quickly, Justin Payne asked a good question. I'll answer real quick. He said, why did you pull the video earlier? You were literally explaining it. The reason why we pulled that video is because it was 45 minutes long, and to be honest, I was kind of ranting in it instead of actually going over bullet points and covering it as an actual topic. So I decided to remove it, and instead we were going to clarify that at the beginning of the stream tonight like we did, so that way it came out a lot more clearly and a lot more eloquently than I was putting it earlier, because I was incredibly aggravated and very frustrated earlier with especially what had happened. But moving on from that, we're now going to be moving on to the area of Klishkivka, where we can see a Stugna hitting a tank.
Little arrow, just in case you couldn't see.
Yeah, you see the crosshairs lined up directly onto the Russian tank, the Stugna missile flying right towards it, and hitting in the dead center of the tank. And that sounds like music, so we're going to be muting that. But we can see the missile slamming right into the lower glacis of the main battle tank here in a moment, and immediately detonating the ammunition. A straight-up knockout for that Russian tank, and another $3.5 million MBT lost from a Stugna. Moving on from that into our next clip near Andreevka, we also got to see a Ukrainian drone dropping bomblets on the Russians. I'm actually going to say really quickly that we're not going to show this clip because it may be a little bit too much, and I hope you'll all know that there are people currently trying to brigade us right now out there in the open world. Once again, if I could remind y'all to hit the like button if you haven't already, that of course will help us to spite the bots, spite the trolls, and continue to make sure that the like ratio is somewhat good on the stream. And so please make sure to hit the like button as much as you can and as best as you can, because it does help out the stream massively in curbing the attacks that are being conducted against this channel. Moving on from that, we're now
it's just a matter of time. Like I've seen it coming for a while, that these trolls are going to come in here and start demanding a toll. Like, it's going to happen.
Oh, it's going to happen at some point.
Yeah,
and
that's what trolls do. They demand tolls.
The trolls smoking the bowl will ask for the toll, and we're going to say no. And so that we're going to be moving on from that and into the area of Kreminna, where we got to see that the Russian VKP was hit pretty hard. And some of y'all may be wondering, what is a VKP? Well, actually, that's like a Russian Tiger armored car or something similar. When you see it set up here along the tree line, we can see some Russians dismounting. We can also see them carrying some kind of equipment into the tree line. The VKP is still sitting there right now. And we can see it get hit by the drone, and we can't really tell what kind of damage was caused. The driver's door was open, however, so that may be something right there, maybe showing that it may have been damaged internally. And with that, that is the end of the clip, and we're now going to be moving on from that little clip. Great to see a armored car getting hit and hopefully knocked out. And moving on into the area of the small suburb of Yasi Nuvata, we got to see today that a Russian camp was hit by a HIMARS strike, and it appears to have been incredibly successful in hindering training efforts and also sending a lot of Russians out of armed service before they even left training. We're going to be muting that, but we can see the Russian forces moving around this supposed training camp, which is really just a flattened out area covered in sand. And also, Crimson Storm, I want to make it clear that we do not try and make people support the channel whatsoever. It's entirely up to y'all if y'all want to, and we are perfectly happy with people being here for the entirety of the stream and the entire duration of the war and never supporting the channel with a cent. That's how the channel runs. It's largely optional, and if you do not feel like you have the ability to support the channel, I highly encourage you don't. But we can see that the Russian base has been hit by artillery here. Of course, pretty heavily. The HIMARS hitting directly in the middle of the camp, and it appears to have delayed Russian training efforts indefinitely in this area. And with that, that's the end of that clip. Of course, amazing to see another Russian training camp getting hit in the area of the Donbass. And moving on from that, we're now moving on to the area of Volodymyrivka, where we got to see 2 Russian tanks getting hit by the 72nd Brigade. And so here's the clip, and making sure that's muted, we can see the 2 main battle tanks moving through the area. We now see them moving through a tree line here, and it appears that they're about to be in the line of sight of the FPV drone. The FPV drone is now coming on in, making sure to get the approach just right for the tank that just moved through an opening in the tree line. We now see them hitting the armored vehicle. And we can see another Russian tank on the move after the first one was hit. And we can now see that one becoming the target of the next FPV drone, hitting it dead on at the rear of the turret and most likely breaching the armor. And so with that, that's the end of that clip right there, and absolutely wonderful to see that they were able to conduct such a successful attack on those 2 main battle tanks in the area around Yakharivka and Mikilske. Moving on from that, we also got another clip from the area showing Russian forces getting hit once again. And here's the clip. And we can see the, of course, intro card playing, and we can now see the Russian forces down there in the tree line. And actually, really quickly, this is a duplicate off the bat. I could tell because, we saw the electronic warfare vehicle getting destroyed the other day, so we're going to be removing that clip because it is a duplicate. Sorry for that, everyone. And we're now going to be moving on into the area of the village chain, where we got to see near Zaitova that the Russians were hit by FPV drones in this area. And so, here's the clip. Very interesting little division symbol at the bottom, but we won't make a comment about that. We can see the village down there in the field, of course. We can see the Russian vehicles on the move, and the Ukrainians, of course, getting ready to target them, hitting them with a drone, an FPV drone, and knocking the vehicle out.
Also, by the way, while we're watching this, speaking of FPV drones, did you happen to see the retweet I put out today from FPV drones Ukraine, that they were building the drones that you see right now going and hitting the target?
Really?
Yeah, like they were showing their whole process and everything, even the large octocopter type deal. They showed how they build all of them. They're building them around the battlefield, actually.
That's really cool, actually. I've never really looked into how they do it. I always thought they had a factory, but they're doing amazing work in this clip. When you see them taking out SPGs like that one right there, which just blew up like a small bomb. And absolutely impressive to see these drones being used to such great effect once again in the area. This is somewhere around the area of Zaitova from what we understand, and it appears that the losses are somewhat considerable in this part of the line. We can see the river near Zaitova once again confirming the location of these attacks, and we see a Russian artillery piece burning in the tree line. It appeared to have been a D-30.
Luftwaffe just means Air Force in German, right?
Yes. Yes, it only means Air Force. The German Air Force is still called the Luftwaffe.
Interesting carryover. I think it depends on what type of font you put the word in that changes the meaning. Yeah,
a little bit. But at least it's not a Balkan ruse. At least it's a modern German Iron Cross, which is, acceptable. That's kind of like a Bundeswehr thing across the whole of the German armed forces. But we can see the drones continuing
I think if you want to play it safe, I think Times New Roman might be the best bet.
Probably. With that, that's
or maybe Arial, Bold, or Sans.
Yeah,
or
not the Deutschen Volk text font. But anyways, with that, that's the end of the clip. Great to see the drone attacks, of course, occurring successfully. And moving on from that and into Star Minorsk, we also got to see Ukrainian soldiers on patrol in the woods in the area. It's a very short clip, but just showing them on the move through the forest. And we see that their equipment is actually varying from person to person, group to group. We can see them moving on forward. We can see this guy's actually got a blue shirt. Looks nice, though. It looks drippy, I have to admit. But with that, that's the end of that clip, and great to see these Ukrainian forces on patrol. And we can also see some burning Russian vehicle over there to the right side for just a quick moment. Moving on from that clip, very interesting to see them on patrol, and on into the area of Verbove, we also got to see some pretty significant action in this area, such as a Zala drone command center being hit by the Ukrainians. And Gary Sever said, the Luftwaffe is not Nazi. Yes, we clarified that just a moment ago. But moving on into the clip, we can see a Zala flying through the sky, of course the Ukrainian drone following it. And we can now see that they found where the Zala drones are being commanded from this command center in the tree line. It then gets hit by a HIMARS, most likely, and wiped out, meaning that the Zalas in this area will most likely be out of action until a replacement command post can be found. And with that, that's the end of the clip. Absolutely great to see. And we're now going to be moving on from that and on into our next clip near the area of Pavlivske, where we got to see the Russians were hit near Verbove. And also, really quickly, I could see some people talking about the validity of our copyright strikes. We actually have been copyright striked twice in the past, and we actually were able to get them appealed the first time we submitted a counter notification on both of them, because we were able to lay out the case that it clearly was not their copyrighted material for them to even be laying copyright strikes out on. So, just putting it out there, unlike what people say, copyright strikes usually are actually easy to appeal if the person actually does not own the copyright or it was fair use. It's actually quite easy because we've done it twice before. Way back in the day. That was way back I think in May or June of last year. But anyways, moving on to the clip, we can see the Ukrainian drones here from the 82nd Brigade preparing to hit Russian trenches. We can see the drones continuously hitting Russian outposts and bases. Hitting one right there. Very effectively, of course, flying the drone right into the door. And also, word guy, no, I'm not rich. My parents are rich. My dad's rich because he's a good attorney. That's why. And that's why I don't even understand those attacks, because I don't have a damn dime. This is what we do as a job. So, you know, that's absolutely... Yeah, that's absolutely stupid to sit there and go, oh, his father's wealthy, so, you know, we need to bash this guy. No, I'm not wealthy at all. He's not even paying for our college or law school. We pay for that ourselves. So, you know, there you have it. But
yeah, I mean, look at the logic behind that, man. Why would we take out as much as we have in student loans to cover that expensive law school, which is overpriced, if I'm being perfectly honest, but I guess you got to pay what you got to pay to go. But why would we take out student loans if everything was taken care of? That doesn't even add up either.
Yeah, you know, it doesn't even make any sense. It doesn't.
Most of y'all in the chat will understand what we're talking about, though, because I'm sure a lot of y'all had old school parents like we do that believe in making your kids grow up, and that's what they've done with us our entire life. And, you know, a lot of y'all understand that, but there's certain folks out there that happen to belong to a certain community that didn't have proper parenting, I don't think, which is the reason why they act the way they act, that don't get it. They probably were allowed to do whatever they wanted and were probably given whatever they wanted, but we've had to work for what we got.
Yeah, nothing came free for us. Our dad said as soon as we were getting out of high school, he's like, you understand, everything you do is going to be your own undertaking from this point forward, right? And we were like, yep, we got it. And that's how we've been operating ever since. That's why we do this as a job, because there is nothing else supporting us. We pay rent to live in the house that some of y'all have probably seen, because it's been doxed at least 1 million times at this point by that guy. We live in this house. So, you know, and we pay rent to be in the basement. You know, it's not free to live here. And so it's absolutely stupid to go, oh, look. It's like we're not living for free. We don't live for free. And we're not, and you know, being completely honest, and this is something I've been honest about since the start, this is a job. Like, this is our job, is analyzing the war and covering it. We do fundraisers, but we can't run this thing for free forever, because we have bills to pay. We have rent to pay. We have to pay car payments. We have to pay everything. We have to pay everything like every normal person does. So why the hell is that even a gripe and a complaint? It makes no damn sense. But anyways, moving on from that and into our next clip near Verbove, we also got to see a Leopard 2A6 firing into the distance. When you see it's at sunset, and we can see them firing their main gun. And with that, that's the end of the clip, but absolutely amazing to see that Leopard 2A6 in action. Moving on from that into the area of Solotka Balka, we also got to see a Russian T-72B roasting in this area. And so here's the clip. And we can see that it's already on fire when the video begins. And we can see a tank burning what appears to be from the driver's compartment. The gunner's and commander's hatch actually is not open, showing that they may have not bailed. But we can see that it also had a mine plow on the front of it as well. And with that, that's the end of the clip. Absolutely amazing to see that they were able to knock out a T-72B3 that was, of course, covered with all the trimmings to try and protect it. And, of course, it was all to no avail. And so with that, we're now going to be moving on from that clip and on into the next one, moving on down into the area of Kherson, where we also got to see some drone munitions hitting the Russians near one of their lakeside houses or their riverside houses. And we can see the Russians running into the house. We can see them dropping a pickle. They photoshopped a pickle onto that bomblet. It's now landing into the roof, slamming dead center, and hopefully causing some decent damage. We can see that that did cause a decent amount of damage. It looks like half the roof's gone. Second bomblet hits and blows away another quarter of the roof. We can see later on that it enveloped into an entire fire and engulfed the house. We can see them hitting another lakeside house owned by the Russians in the area. We can see, I don't know what kind of bomblet that was. I think it may have been thermobaric or a white phosphorus, but we now see the Russians running for the hills as the house begins to burn. We now see them dropping another pickle. This Ukrainian unit loves to make the bomblets look like pickles. And I gotta tell you, that's a hell of a pickle right there. I'm not even lying. We now see them dropping the next bomblet. We see it blasting away the garden shed that the Russians were inside of.
And
look
at that pickle.
And Robin Russell just said, "Do you read these?" Oh yeah, we read all of them. Every single live chat that's ever put in, we read it. And so we can see them
all 13,000 in the night.
Yeah, all 13,000 or 20,000, depending on how busy the live chat is. Probably tonight it's probably closer to like 20-something thousand right now. But we can see them continuously.
That's why I've lost my mind. Because I read 13,000 live chats every night.
And we can see them continuously slamming the Russians. We can see a larger drone moving on its way towards a Russian house in the distance. And we can now see them dropping another pickle onto another house and putting the Russians into a bit of a pickle again. This time setting the house on fire immediately. And oh my lord. Oh my god, the thing literally was enveloped in flames immediately. In the next clip, we can see them hitting a garden shed here.
Paula McDonald said, "You'd have a heart attack if we all showed up for the pool party at your place. Man, I'd be paranoid there'd be an assassin in the bunch, like some nut came in with the group or something like that and was like, we're gonna get him." Then you get dunked in the deep end and you don't come back up type deal.
Some guy like KLW or hell, even Mercado, because he's already threatened to physically harm process servers that are trying to serve him. So who's to say he wouldn't try and harm us as well, considering he's very adamant about trying to get his community to at least insinuate that they would possibly harm us and encourage that as well. Who's to say that they wouldn't? And that's something that's actually stopped us from doing a thing in the background that we were planning to do, which is fan meets. We were actually eventually thinking about having like fan meets where we got to talk to all of y'all in public or something and meet y'all. But after this started, we decided that's probably not a smart idea because the amount of psychos that this guy has mobilized against us, who's to say that one of them doesn't have a revolver in their jacket and that ends up being the last time we're alive is going to a fan meet. So we can't do that either because of that. And that's something that, of course, we've kept in the background as well. But since everyone wants to get involved today and start talking about it, we're going to just be completely frank with you all about everything that's been going on in the background with everyone. Why not? But moving on from that and into the area of Odessa, we also heard that a Turkish cargo ship hit a sea mine today. It suffered minor damage. All of the crew was safe, but still an interesting incident nevertheless, and we have not gotten an official NATO response on that at the moment. Moving on from that into the next clip, we also got to see a Russian drone attack occurring in the area around the Danube River. And so here's the clip.
He's wants the sky black like that.
Probably because of that massive spotlight that's shining down on him so that there's no stars. But we see the Ukrainians firing from the ground. It appears largely with machine guns and small arms. But we can now hear the Shahed getting close. We see ground fire is intensifying as they're hoping to shoot down the drone before it can land. And unfortunately, it appears that they weren't able to stop that one.
Asta direct în vama a căzut. Whoa.
And with that,
damn,
that's the end of that clip. Unfortunately, the Ukrainian air defense wasn't successful in shooting it down, but they did give it one hell of an effort. And of course, that is what largely counts, is that the Ukrainian forces give it their all in defending their nation. With that, we're now going to be moving on to the city of Kyiv to cover the speech from President Volodymyr Zelenskyy on day 590 of the war. And so, without further ado, here is the speech. Speech! And let me make sure it's on Ukrainian and not subtitles. Okay.
He got a new shirt, by the way. He got a nice Ukraine shirt.
Oh, yeah, he did. And so with that, here's the clip.
Бажаю здоров'я, шановні українці, українки. Щойно провів засідання Ставки. Тривало. Кілька ключових питань. Перше, звичайно, фронт, ситуація на основних напрямках, доповіді командувачів, забезпечення снарядами та ППО. Друге питання Ставки прямо пов'язане з нашою обороною, зі стійкістю нашої держави. Енергетика, підготовка до зими, захист об'єктів нашої генерації та забезпечення електрикою і теплом, відновлення усього того, що пошкоджене російськими ударами та бойовими діями. Нинішнє керівництво Росії завжди робить те, що вже колись робило. Всі помилки вони повторюють, все зло вони повторюють. І коли у них не виходить, вони думають, що нібито зробили замало зла, щоб вийшло. Така божевільна логіка. Але маємо це враховувати. Цієї зими російські терористи будуть знов намагатись знищити нашу енергосистему. Вони не здатні сприйняти думку, що Україну все одно не підкорять, але спробують зробити більш ударів та більш спроб обійти наш захист. Небезпеку повністю усвідомлюємо. Сьогодні на Ставці були доповіді військових та усіх посадовців, які відповідають за захист нашої енергетики і за нашу тактику проходження зими. Зокрема, доповідали голова уряду, міністри, керівники енергокомпаній, представники сфери зв'язку, голови обласних адміністрацій. Все, що стосується фізичного захисту об'єктів, відбудови, виконання наказів, порядку дій в разі тих чи інших надзвичайних ситуацій. Виграти цю зиму, пройти всі складнощі та дати захист нашим людям – це дуже важливо. І, до речі, місцева влада повинна виконати повністю свою частину підготовчої роботи. Наступного тижня зафіксуємо поточний стан в регіонах підготовки до зими. Робимо іще більше кроків на посилення нашої ППО та на співпрацю з партнерами заради стійкості української енергетики. Цей тиждень вже нас значно посилив Німеччина. Ми опрацьовуємо з паном канцлером Олафом Шольцем передачу Україні ще одної батареї «Петріот». Це буде суттєве посилення. Італія, обговорили з Джорджією Мелоні, пані главою уряду, наповнення нового безпекового пакету для нашої держави. Дякую. Іспанія на перемовинах з паном Санчесом, прем'єр-міністром Іспанії, домовились не тільки про додаткові системи ППО ХОК, але й про підтримку енергетичним обладнанням. Дякую. Британія, маємо дуже хорошу домовленість з паном прем'єр-міністром Ріші Сунаком щодо безпеки в Чорному морі та в Одеському регіоні. Це важливо, щоб ми не втрачали часу і не втрачали можливості для експортної роботи. Україна має зберегти свою роль гаранта глобальної продовольчої безпеки, має зберегти морський доступ до світового ринку. І я дякую Британії за цю підтримку. І, звичайно, пан президент Франції Еммануель робить для більшої безпеки України і всієї Європи саме те, про що ми з ним домовлялися. Є вагомі результати та нові можливості для наших воїнів. Але про деталі трошки пізніше. Сьогодні є ще і рішення про новий пакет від Нідерландів обсягом понад 100 мільйонів євро. І цей пакет фокусується саме на підтримці нашої енергосистеми. Найближчим часом проговоримо з паном прем'єр-міністром Марком Рютте і наші подальші кроки. Дякую. Плідно співпрацюємо із Європейським Союзом. Для нас з усіх точок зору важливо розпочати вже цього року переговори щодо членства в ЄС. Україна майже виконала відповідні 7 рекомендацій Єврокомісії. З нашої сторони все буде готово. В Верховній Раді залишився один крок. І принципово, щоб депутати цей крок зробили. ЄС для України – це не лише економічна безпека та потужний внесок у вирішення питання геополітичної стабільності. Це ще й мотивація. Мотивація для нас, для наших воїнів, для усього нашого народу. Мотивація боротись, бути стійкими, пройти цю зиму та досягти наших національних цілей, попри будь-який російський терор. Ще одне. Харківщина. Вчора жорстокий удар по селу в Куп'янському районі. 51 загиблий, доля ще 3 людей поки невідома. Цього ранку російський удар по Харкову, просто по місту, по звичайних будинках ракетою. 2 загиблих, і вони з однієї родини, хлопчик 10 років та його бабуся. Молодший брат хлопця, йому лише 11 місяців, та батьки в лікарні. Мої співчуття усім, чиїх рідних і близьких вбила Росія. Вчора і сьогодні лідери держав, багато міністрів закордонних справ висловили співчуття та засудили російський терор. Я вдячний кожному і кожній, хто не залишається байдужим. І тільки разом у єдності можна долати терор. І ми це зробимо. Держави і лідери, народи. Дуже багато журналістів, громадських діячів та звичайних людей підтримали нас зараз і підтримують протягом усього часу цієї війни. Україна надзвичайно цінує кожен прояв підтримки, кожен прояв солідарності з нами. Наша перемога над російським терором буде спільною перемогою усіх людей світу, які так само, як і українці, вважають, що зло і ненависть завжди повинні програвати. Завжди. Це має бути непорушним глобальним правилом. І обов'язково буде. Слава нашим воїнам, слава усім, хто захищає людей та людяність. Слава Україні!
And Hiram Slava.
And Rom Slava. And with that, that is the end of the speech from President Volodymyr Zelenskyy on day 590 of the war. And of course, we're about to be moving into the second part. But really quickly, Matthew, I actually just saw something that I'd like to take a look at here. Just saw someone say something in the live chat that'd be very interesting to me. And so let's go here. Let's check this out. And so this is something fairly interesting, Matthew. We have just gone over and just talked about at the beginning of the stream how we've been doxxed, how people have threatened to end our lives, and how people have ended up harassing us and trying to ruin our lives and our futures before any of this even happened. And so I'd really like to quickly, just to make sure that we're fully transparent with all of y'all, to show y'all what Jake Bro's response was to our telling of the story with what we've had to deal with in the background, is that he just said, these guys are the most sensitive and biggest crybabies in the world. If you actually follow these clowns, maybe reconsider doing so because something is not right with them. And that's
what's not right is we don't put up with people saying disingenuous things about us. That's what's not right. And we don't appreciate people like Jake Bro coming in and putting their nose in something that's none of their business, trying to make it seem like we're the bad guy, and then wanting to act offended when we call him out for saying disingenuous things about us. The guy's an idiot.
This is the stupidest thing I've ever seen. We have been threatened with our lives by these people in this other community. This guy steals our copyrighted material, plays our stuff without our consent, and then it doesn't even do it on our premise of fair use. None of them. Otherwise, the copyright infringement takedown request wouldn't stick. And this guy goes and instead of listening to what we have to say, he sits here and says we're sensitive crybabies because people are taking pictures of our back porch and putting it on Twitter and stuff like that and stalking us and trying to ruin our lives. Now that is real classy right there. That is.
Now, if you'll notice, Enforcer, I told you that this guy had the warning signs of being someone who was like subtly, advocating for Mercado. And sure enough, I was right, because I knew when I sent this guy information in his DM to try to clarify the situation, I sent him all the evidence that we have proving that Mercado has lied on us. He never responded, and he had said previously before I sent that he didn't really care. He said he doesn't have a dog in the fight, but yet he made a post saying that we were trying to sabotage Mercado's channel. So we aren't naive. We see these little games that people play. Jake, along with Ukraine Matters, they're all buddies with Mercado. It's clear as day that they are. And Mercado calls on his clique to come defend him whenever he gets in a bad pickle because he's acted wrongfully. So, I think everybody sees this for what it is.
And this is truly insane. I'm going to have to be honest here and take a step back and say that 9 out of 10 people that we've run into in the Ukraine war community have been some of the most using and mean people that we have ever met in our lives. The way they are on camera is completely different than the way they are off camera. And what's funny is that this guy, for him to say this stuff about us right now, when the 1-year anniversary stream was rounding out, this guy crawled into our live chat and was asking to be on our show. And once we got off of that show, we said, man, considering how Ukraine Matters acted on the show, and also when he was getting off, we were like, man, we just feel like we got punked. So we're like, nah, we don't want anyone on the show. We're just going to leave that alone. Haven't said anything bad about this guy. Haven't said a bad bone about this dude. And now he's going to come over here and pick a fight with us for something that he's not even involved in, and something that we have been personally attacked on. I can't say that damn well enough. This guy has sat here and had people call up our law school. He's had people, from what we understand, trying to call up the state bar for the state of Alabama on trumped up defamatory statements. He sat there and shown our house and doxed us. One of the videos that was taken down for copyright infringement, the thumbnail was a picture of our house. He's showing people where we live. Doxing is against YouTube community guidelines. That's something that's also considered by the FBI to be domestic terrorism for the most part as well. And his response to that, his response to learning that information, instead of going, well, I may have misunderstood that situation, is to say that we're crybabies for saying that we're taking action and defending ourselves, our lives, and our family for what this guy has done. That is outrageous. And I got to say,
it's literally as simple as they're buddies with Mercado. That's as simple as it gets. Like that, it's not even really that complicated. This is the way people act when they're in like the in group per se. This is the way people act, and he's obviously in with the bunch. So this is the way it works. I'm beginning to see as I'm getting older. I'm only 23 right now. But I'm beginning to see that this is the way stuff typically operates. We're not in with the in group, if y'all haven't noticed. And I don't know what's up with this little clique that the pro-Ukraine community has got going, but everyone should be independent for themselves instead of trying to form a clique. We're trying to support Ukraine here. We're not trying to be, buddies where we're helping each other out when we do stuff wrong. If somebody does something wrong, own up to it, admit it, and move on. Don't, try to defend each other like leeches.
And really quickly, since we're on the topic, Matthew said to move on along, and we will after this. But just to make sure that this is documented for all of y'all to read, so because we know that the story will now probably be spun by this guy as well, with a decent amount of lies sprinkled in, because that's apparently what's now a trend in this community. I'm going to slowly scroll through here, so that way y'all can go back in on your own time and read this, and you can read the messages that we sent to this guy talking about this situation, since he wanted to go and shove himself into something that wasn't even concerning him. So here's the messages. And I'm not kidding around anymore. We're not going to hide anything from y'all and act like anything is behind the scenes anymore, trying to deal with stuff in the background, because all that's done is bite us in the ass. We've tried to be gentlemen about this and make sure that Ukraine being supported was the #1 priority, and deal with psychos in the background who are threatening our lives, and this is what we get in response. So here's the messages, and you can go back and you can read all of these.
I wrote a book. I literally wrote books.
Yeah, you can read all of these and see what we told them, and there you have it. So there you go. Now, to Jake Bro, that's got to be one of the scummiest statements I've ever seen, considering the facts of what we've just said and what we've been going through, to sit there and call us crybabies, considering that I'm sure that nobody has shown your house on a stream or a video or a thumbnail and sat there and told people, hey, why don't y'all go and try and get to his house somehow? Not to process serve him, not to do anything legal, but to just harass us and to make us fear for our own lives. Sickening. With that, we're on to the next one.
And also, by the way, folks, I don't know if anyone new is here tonight. Probably not. But if there is, this isn't the way we normally run our stream. This is unusual tonight because we've had such a horrific day today because of being attacked by vicious people that don't have all the facts, or either they're acting maliciously. I'm beginning to think it might be the latter. But this is not the way we run it. So tonight is unusual. Please excuse it tonight. We're having to vent just a little bit because we've been kicked around a lot today, unjustified, and it's just completely wrong.
And
so,
you know hang on. You know something else, Matthew, that I think is absolutely crazy. I'm going to say this really quickly as an aside. A lot of people say that we run this show to make money. And part of that is somewhat true. We do this as a job. So obviously we do part of it to make money. We have to live and pay bills. But this guy who's sitting here and siding with Mercado, and Mercado's major complaint is that we do this as a job, like he also does as well. I sat there and looked at his channel today, and Jake Bro made a YouTube short, explaining how much money he makes on YouTube Shorts, and how it wasn't really worth his time because the money wasn't there. Now, tell me, I mean, y'all are getting what I'm getting at here. And
here's the clown right here.
We blocked you because you sat there and you talked about us and said some crap that wasn't even based in fact. We sit there and present you with information to show you otherwise, that this guy has been harassing us and doing terrible shit to us for months. And your response is to sit there and still act like, well, I still believe that your lives being in danger has nothing to do with what the copyright infringements are. That's absolutely insane. And
also, don't think for a minute that we buy the story that you're not aware of what's been going on, because obviously you knew something was going on, or you wouldn't have showed up and interjected yourself in the middle of what you thought was a wrongful copyright infringement claim. So, I mean, I'm not buying that. I don't think anybody else is either.
No, I'm not. And the damn ludicrousness. So apparently he's been sitting here. I would assume he's been sitting here watching the whole stream. He's heard us talk about what's been going on. He's probably seen what's been going on too, because Mercado's people love to travel the internet and try and slander us everywhere they can. And of course, turns a blind eye to that. But once we start to take action and actual legal recourse on every single option, which is what you're supposed to do to try and address the issue, you sit there and you get blasted for defending yourself. And I gotta tell you this, Jake, since you're probably still here and probably all flustered and probably writing out between, they just blocked me on their live chat, and we did. Because that is an asshole thing to do, what you've done and what you've sided with today. Absolutely despicable.
And especially after hearing the facts, because apparently he's been listening all night. He's heard all the facts now, and he still is acting like we're in the wrong, even though we've told him all the facts, because he's apparently been listening all night. How can you think we're in the wrong after we literally laid out the exact reasons why that material was copyrighted? We put a claim on it, and clearly it's not able to be used by Mercado because it's our content. He didn't have permission to use it, and he used the whole thing like for 6 minutes of clips with no commentary. You can't do that. That's not allowed.
I'm telling you.
We have to move on because we have a lot of super chats.
Actually, I'm going to have to take a moment here to address this. This community, in this past few days, over these past few months, with how people have ignored how this guy's been attacking us deliberately, and I know that y'all all damn well know about it because y'all all have Discord servers, and Mercado's people are in them, and are moderators, like in Ukraine Matters Discord server, some of them are moderators. I know good and damn well they are sitting there and telling y'all all this shit, probably even doxing us to y'all, and y'all sit there will turn a blind eye to that stuff, knowing that that's a direct threat and a danger to our lives, and then you'll sit there once we start taking action and defending ourselves against this guy and act like we're in the wrong. This is a despicable thing and downright horrendous that a community of people who say they're supporting a war in Ukraine wouldn't even stand up and defend someone who's being attacked wrongfully and has defamatory statements being made about them, constantly trying to destroy our character on baseless, factless claims, and then also our lives are threatened, and to just turn a blind eye to that. Absolutely despicable. And so with that, we're on to the next one.
All right. So with that being said and that out of the way, where were we before all this started?
We were getting on, I think, into the super chats, I believe.
All right. So I don't think we've actually addressed our poll. So let's go back and address the poll after all that excitement's over. The poll says Russia is backing out of some key nuclear testing agreements. And why do you think that is so? 41% said it's just a scare tactic by Russia. 27% said, nukes are all Russia has left. 25% said they're actually developing nukes, and 8% said unsure. And on this one, I think very clearly we all know that Russia is definitely relying almost 100% on its nuclear arsenal as its last line of defense to protect its country at this point, because they know that they'll get defeated in a conventional war against NATO. So I think them backing out of the nuclear testing agreement is most likely a scare tactic to make the West believe that they're developing some kind of more high-tech, high-efficiency nuclear weapon. They may or may not be doing so. I'm not really sure if they have the resources to do so at the moment, but I certainly think that it's probably just a scare tactic. But Enforcer, what say you?
I would have to agree it's most likely a scare tactic. The fact of the Russians using nuclear weapons ever is slim to none. The chances are incredibly low. And so with that, we are on to the next one.
All right, and that was our last poll for now. So we are moving on into our Super Chat questions. And let's see here. Hold on, let me get a couple of these bots. I'm getting behind in my duties real quick. Let's see. There's one gone. That was a MM troll. I recognize that one. Let's see. I'm sure they're organizing on Discord right now. But anyways, before we get too deep back into that rabbit hole once again, we're moving on to our Super Chat. And the first one we have is going to go to Mark, incompetent drone operator yet again. And this time, he throws in a $200 donation.
Hey!
And huge shout out to you, Mark, for that. And also, thank you for the second support of the night. And really, big thanks. That is a ton of support, by the way. And Mark said, for the Latin pronunciation lessons. And man, I thought that was included with law school.
Well, it isn't really, you know. I mean, I've heard Wanton in law school so far. So I thank you so much for the massive amount of support, Mark, and helping the channel to keep on running. And we will try and get into some Latin lessons, hopefully here soon, maybe. And so with that, thank you once again for support. I hope that does address that fairly well. And I'm sorry that I'm being a little bit shorter tonight, Mark, but I hope you understand tonight has been one hell of a night, and a very aggravating one at that. And so with that,
you might as well laugh through it now, because if you're wanting to go into politics, expect this on a level maybe 10 times worse, because then you got 300 million people on your back.
Yeah, but you know, it's something else when it's really something else with this guy, considering we've never even said anything about him at all, like nothing about him at all, and then he's going to jump in and then get involved in this. It makes no damn sense. You know, it's just unfathomable to me. I can't even put it into words. And what the hell is the gall of people not even knowing the actual story to just jump in on something and then act like they know everything that's going on? That guy didn't know a damn thing. He wouldn't have known his head from the hole in the ground in what's been going on over the past 8 months. He just comes in hearing the shit that Mercado goes around lying about and just goes, oh yeah, that's the truth. I'm going to take that at face value. Not even ask the other side, hey, what's going on? Why in the world are you doing something this extreme? Because like, what we have done is pretty extreme in response to pretty extreme shit and also straight up copyright violations. That's what we've done. Why not ask us about it instead of immediately going and, hey, I don't like what they're doing, and then came in here and said, I was actually being fair to both sides. No, you weren't. You immediately took his side and came charging at us. We tried to explain the situation to you, and then you didn't even respond or give us the time of day with that, and then go, personally, I'm not involved in this, and then involve yourself in it every single step of the way. Come on.
We got adults in the chat. They can see it.
Yeah. Come on, Captain. Get it together. And so with that, we're on to the next one.
All right. So moving on to our next Super Chat question we have here, which is from, guess who? It's from a Mark, incompetent drone operator once again. And this time he puts in a $100 donation. And good Lord, thank you very much, Mark, for the, I believe, third support of the night. That is also very massive, huge things. He says, yes, more funds for the legal... I'm just going to say it tonight because we're kind of going a little wild anyway. For the legal asset destruction funds.
And I thank you so much for the support, Mark.
Dear Lord.
And I thank you for supporting the legal asset destruction fund, because apparently we're going to need to start stocking up on that one, it seems. Because, you know, knowing the way of the world, Matthew, I'm sure more defamation will be coming our way. So with that, thank you once again for support. Hope that does address that fairly well. And with that, we are on to the next one. Also, Robo-Rat, no, he cannot be the peacemaker. Hell no. It's already a legal proceeding. We're not going to get into a damn Thunderdome on a Discord call with someone that we're in a legal proceeding with, and especially with his handling of the situation, he clearly has no idea how to handle something like that. He's just trying to sit there and have, hey, look, it's Thunderdome on my channel. Everyone come watch. That's what it would be. And so with that, we're on to the next one.
All right, and our next one goes to KG, who puts in a $100 donation. And big shout out to KG as well for that very generous support. And KG said, you guys are only 20-something, and sometimes you get things wrong, but you retract if you are. And you've had great success doing it. your way and my way. And y'all are basically just kids and trying to do the right thing and going the good way. And I consider this bully tactics. And I have to say, I do agree with you. I like to think that we're young men at this point, but I guess you do have a point. We somewhat are like on the border of just, kind of out of the kid stage a little bit. But what's shocking is at our age, we're more mature than some of these clowns that are attacking us, which is just blows my mind away. But I guess some people don't mature the same way. But anyways, Enforcer, what say you?
I would say thank you for the support, first off, and helping the channel to keep on running. Second, and let me make sure that I'm on the right one. Let's see here, Matthew. Which one was it again? I'm trying to make sure that I could read it all.
It's from KG.
All right, and so let me go down to KG's. And thank you so much once again for the kind words and saying that we're just in our 20s and trying to do the right thing. That's what we've been trying to do since the start of the war. And I've got to be honest with y'all, it seems like every single step of the way, everyone's been trying to kick us in the damn teeth. And you know what, really quickly, I'll show y'all this, because a lot of people always love to say, oh, where are the receipts? Where's the money for the fundraisers going? There it is right there. There's 50 of the fundraisers. We can only have 50 of them in here. We've run so many fundraisers, and you can see right there at the bottom, we have to delete fundraisers. The accounts are still saved, though. The money is still with YouTube and then gets sent to the nonprofits. But here are all of the fundraisers right here. And this guy, who now Jake Bro is going to side with, it says that we're running scams. And you can literally see all the damn fundraisers right here. They're all right here. The money's right there. And the only thing we can do is click edit and go through, and we can't even edit the options anymore because the fundraiser closed. Or we can sit there and delete them to make room for another fundraiser that we're going to be running next Sunday. That's all we can do.
And all this entire list was made possible by y'all. And so when people come in and make statements suggesting that, for example, Ukraine Matters on his live stream or video or whatever it was today, suggesting that Mercado helps out Ukraine, but we're really just collecting money for what he suggested was we're really not doing as much as Mercado because he's actually in Ukraine. But yet you look at the list like this and see all the generosity of the donors, which are y'all.
Hold up, our stream got cut. Hang on. Looks like we're going through some lag attacks. And we actually also, by the way, some people don't believe we're getting DDoSed. A viewer, an anonymous viewer, sent us a picture.
Are we back?
It looks like we are, but an anonymous viewer, speaking of lag attacks.
Well, let me finish my thought real quick if we're back. I was going to say, though, this entire list here you see of like $64,000, $14,000, $21,000, $17,000, all of this adding up to somewhere in the neighborhood of $1.2 million raised in total for charities for Ukraine that help out in Ukraine. Y'all raised this money. We were running the thing, but y'all raised it. So when people come in here and make insults and stuff and suggest we're sabotaging someone and stuff like that, we're not really doing very much for Ukraine. Then you see this, see y'all's generosity. That makes me even more angry that people are that damn selfish to come in and make statements uninformed or either maliciously, one or the other.
And yeah, that's exactly how it is. And I got to be honest with y'all, I'm actually pretty winded tonight from all of this dumb, and I hate to use language because we try not to. All of this dumb shit that's been going on so far on.
You don't want to get too wild.
Well, no, I'm not. But all this dumb shit that's been going on over today and yesterday, it's been stupid. It's been absolutely stupid. And people are going to sit there and go, "Oh, I've never seen the Enforcer help out Ukraine." No, but you've seen the nonprofits we support help out Ukraine. Doctors Without Borders, Razom, Revive Soldiers of Ukraine, the damn UNICEF. I mean, we've helped out multiples. UNHCR, we've helped out every single major nonprofit that you can think of that is in Ukraine, helping them out. We've supported those nonprofits. And so it's ludicrous to sit there and say, because someone got 4 trucks, which is the equivalent of like $50,000 or something, which is less than one of our largest fundraisers we've ever run in the history of this channel, they've done more for Ukraine than we have. That is bullshit and an absolute lie. And it's ridiculous that people would go and push that because we don't sit there and have photo ops with our support that we give to Ukraine. We just raise it and move on to the next week. We don't sit there and have videos going, look at the trucks. We don't do that. We sit there and just run the fundraisers and we get on with it. We actually do this as a thing. We actually do it to help out. And we raised $1.2 million. It stands for itself. But with that, I got to thank you so much once again for the support. I hope that addresses that fairly well. And with that, we are on to the next one.
All right. So with that, And Enforcer, let's try to make that the last. I'm going to try not to mention it again. Let's try to make that the last time of the night, because we're going to go on forever if we keep this up. And I think the folks have gotten the point. Or I'm pretty sure most of the people have. But anyways, moving on to our next Super Chat question, we have a $100 donation from Patrick Mills. And big shout out to Patrick for being very generous and also supporting the LSA and keeping this entire thing running. And he says, keep up the good work, and the people that actually watch your channel know the truth. And does it seem to you that Russia is purposely retreating to counterattack Ukraine?
And the Russians are probably not going to counterattack Ukraine. Their forces appear to be poorly trained and poorly equipped so badly that we'll probably never see them conduct an offensive, and that's also according to the British Ministry of Defense reports, which are incredibly accurate with their statements. So I would say, without a doubt, without a shadow of a doubt, we'll probably never see the Russians conduct another offensive, at least for the rest of this year. Next year may be a different story, however, but I feel like we'll have to revisit that sometime midsummer next year and see if they've somehow built up an ability to conduct a small offensive again. And so, with that, I thank you so much once again for the support and helping the channel to keep on running, and I hope that does address that fairly well. And with that, we are on to the next one.
All right, so our next Super Chat is going to go to KG, who puts in a $100 donation as well. Huge shout out to you, KG, for that support as well. And KG says that both Jake and Andrew served in the military, and they should know better from a low-level perspective, and being bullies to you or who are not misrepresenting or having stolen valor, and you make no representations of such. And I will say right off the bat, I got to say this to make it clear, I haven't heard Jake say anything like that, so we want to make that clear off the bat. I'm not sure if the other guy has or not, not really sure, but I do see where you're coming from. But Enforcer, what say you?
I would have to say thank you for the support. I also have to say I haven't heard Jake Bro say that because, you know, while he's pissed us off, we're not going to lie like other people do in the community. We're not. But it's still aggravating. It's really aggravating to me, especially when one of them was a sergeant. So it's like you don't like a sergeant's job isn't to know how an army group operates. We're on the same level analysis wise and knowledge wise on that. You can just read a book and be on the same level. And that makes no sense to me at all, you know, to have a mindset like that. We have never represented that we've been in the military either. I've made it clear since the start of this channel that I was just a college kid, still am, still a law school student, doing our thing, running our show, and covering the news of the war in Ukraine. That's what we've done. That we've never misrepresented anything about this channel. We've never lied about it, and we've been as transparent as we physically can be. Literally, we have. Like, hell, like even with the support, we don't run ads. We don't run sponsorships either. I think we've only had 2 sponsorships in this channel's whole history, and those 2 were on videos, and that was because we were scared at that point that Mercado was about to make sure that no one supported the channel anymore because of his lies. So we're like, what in the world do we do? Like, you know, how in the hell are we going to figure out moving forward? And then after we saw that passed over, we're like, okay, well, we're never most likely not doing sponsors again. So, you know, it's a whole thing. I'm trying to figure out how to even get through to this point because there's so much crap that's happened and it's hard to get through it all. But still, thank you for the support. I hope that addresses that the best I can right now. And with that, oh yeah, by the way, getting back to that, and it's absolutely insane the disrespect we get. Like, everyone just assumes we're in the wrong. Nobody ever goes, well, what's this Mercado guy done to bring this upon himself? Because obviously, because here's the thing, the guy's made like 9 separate live streams entirely focused on us. Why the hell have we not copyright strike those? Because there's nothing that is a copyright infringement in any of those videos. It was all fair use if he used anything or just talked about us. So, you know, it's like, there you have it. It's pretty fairly placed what we do. But with that, thank you once again, and we are on to the next one.
All right, and our next one goes to Jesus UCSB, who puts in a 50. And a big shout out to Jesus as well for also supporting the Enforcer channel. And he says, get them likes up. And he also says, LSA tonight is our night. God bless the heroes of Ukraine and LSA.
And thank you so much for the support. Tonight is our night, and I got to thank you so much once again for being here with us and helping the channel to keep on running. And of course, Slava Ukraini, and long live the Lee Spring Army. And so with that, we are on to the next one. And thank you once again. Also, by the way, really quickly, everyone, see a lot of people trying to say the name of the channel, Mercado. We have the Nightbot where you automatically get timed out if you say that. So you can put MM in the chat if you want to talk about them or not. because, we're not going to hide his name from y'all anymore. That's the guy, who's been harassing us for 10 months now. So if you want to talk about him, you have to put MM in the chat or something similar, because we have Mercado strictly removed by the Nightbot. So it's not anything we're doing against you. It's just something the Nightbot's automatically been programmed to do. But with that, we are on to the next one.
All right, and our next super chat question goes to, let's see here, goes to Cindy Mitchell, who puts in a $50 donation. Big shout out to Cindy as well for that very generous support, longtime channel legend, just like Jesus. And they said, I am so proud of you boys, and I've been here since the beginning, and I've unsubscribed to the 2 channels, and the Tuck will be back tomorrow. And he is still LSA and a Tim Bit, and send a chat.
And I got to thank you so much for the support, Cindy Mitchell, and helping the channel to keep on running. It's good to know that you and Tucker are here tonight, and I'm terribly sorry that you all have had to come here tonight while we're dealing with all of this. We largely try and remove it from the news, but of course, it's something that we can't really do tonight because it's just the elephant in the room. But I still thank you so much once again for being here with us tonight and backing us up and supporting the channel and helping us to keep it running. This also makes Mercado seethe, and that's kind of funny because we never tell y'all throw in money, but then y'all throw in super chats. And tonight has been a nuts night. I'm not even going to kid anyone here. It's been insane. And so you'll be over there going, look, they're grifting. How the hell are we? Like, I just don't get that, Cindy. Like, I got to tell you real quick, just telling you, I don't get how the hell we're grifting when we don't even tell y'all to throw in super chats. Y'all just throw them in. It's nuts. It's just stupid. But anyways, thank you so much once again. I hope that does address that fairly well. And long live the Lee Spring Army. And I'm glad to know that you and Tucker are here tonight. And so with that, thank you so much once again. And we are on to the next one.
All right, and our next one goes to LSA Warrior, who puts in a $50 donation as well. And LSA Warrior, I think I might have seen you before, but for some reason I'm not remembering right off the bat. I think you might be new, but correct me if I'm wrong. But thank you very much for the $50 support. And he said, we love Jesus UCSB, and likes up.
Hey, and thank you so much for the support. It's great to hear that there's some love for Jesus UCSB here in the chat. Lee Spring Army tanker, and not only that, a tanker in the U.S. Army. And I got to thank you so much once again for giving a huge shout out to Jesus UCSB, who's been a great part of the channel and has been helping to defend us against that insane group of people, even to a detriment to himself. But I got to thank you so much once again for the support and helping the channel to keep on running. And thank you so much once again. And so with that, we are on to the next one.
All right, and our next one is going to go to Blue Flam 777 LSA, who puts in a $50 donation. And big shout out to Blue Flam as well. They said to the Ass Clown Fund, LSA, keep up the good work, gents. And question to the chat.
Hey, and thank you so much for the support to the Assets Fund. Of course, something that's really starting to take off tonight. And I'm sure, Matthew, that that'll be the next thing, but still, I got to thank you so much once again for support and helping the channel to keep on running. We're, of course, going to try and limit our comments as best as we can from here forward. I do promise y'all, though, it's as aggravating to us as it is to y'all. And, of course, we've largely just told y'all the whole story tonight. So, I largely know what y'all are thinking. But still, thank you for the support and helping the channel to keep running. And I hope I was able to address that the best I can. And so with that, we are on to the next one.
All right, and the next one goes to Blue Flam 777 LSA yet again, who put in that same super chat. I just read it the second time. Big shout out to you again, Blue Flam. Sorry about that. Moving on to our next super chat, we have a $50 donation from Yon Ranger. And big shout out to you for that support as well. They said, cheer up, Enforcer, legal and pizza fund. And yes, cheer up, Enforcer, cheer up.
Hey, and I got to thank you so much for the support and helping the channel to keep on running. Would love to cheer up, but I've got to be honest with y'all. It does really rile the nerves with stuff like this going on, and absolutely nobody listening to our side, just out of the gate assuming that we were in the wrong. That is incredibly annoying, and I'm pretty sure that they'll be adamant on their positions now, even faced with other facts. And, it'll be great. It'll be great to watch Ukraine war channels go, yeah, that guy did post their address online and encourage people to go harass them physically. But hey, I mean, still, what they did was wrong, reacting to it and defending themselves. How dare they? I can't wait to see that, because I'm sure that's going to be the running trend nowadays. But with that, thank you so much once again. I hope that does address that fairly well. And with that, we are on to the next one. And also, thank you for the legal fund as well.
Indeed. And up next, we have a $50 super chat from KG. Once more, and big shout out to you, KG, once again for that support. And they said, I'll remind everyone that at Enforcers were unsure if their schedules would allow them to keep going on providing this information nearly daily. And first year of law school is very difficult. But second is even worse. What? I hate to hear that. They said, hope to God don't have another year. Yikes, man! We got 3. We got 3 years. But the first year I was told was the most difficult, and the second was supposed to be easier, and the third was supposed to be a breeze. That's what I was sold on. So hopefully that is the case, because I would hate to know the second is harder than the first, because that would be a nightmare. But Enforcer, what say you?
And I gotta thank you so much for the support. And you were right. We were considering rolling these streams back to just 2 days a week. That was a serious concern of ours, is that we would not have time to be able to do these streams. And yet, and this was entirely because I promised y'all that we would run this thing 6 days a week regardless. We have gone through hell over this past 2 months trying to do everything, law school and this combined, to make sure that the news keeps on coming out. And you know, a great detriment to ourselves. You know, we sit here and we have no free time at all. We work 20 hours a day going to law school and doing this. And, you know, still no respect. I mean, I'm not even going to do a Rodney Dangerfield voice tonight, but seriously, we get no respect around here. And so with that, thank you so much once again.
We get no respect around here.
Man, I'm telling you. But with that, thank you once again for the support. I hope that does address that fairly well. And hopefully the second year is easier, because they're saying it's easier. I would hate to know it's even harder. But still, thank you so much. And we are on to the next one.
All right, and with that being said, moving on to our next one here, we have a super chat question from KG yet again. We have the 3rd or 4th super chat of the night. Big shout out to KG for the continued support. And it's a 50. They said, I have a son, little younger than you, and I'm extremely proud of him. And you guys have a good thing going, and you're above YouTube algorithms and showing the truth for many who don't have this access. And anyone that says you're grifters never worked before.
And I gotta thank you for the support, and thank you for the kind words, KG. And that's something that is really interesting to me, is that we are the youngest people that do this. No one else is as young as us that does this, from what I know. So, you know, I gotta thank you so much for the kind words and helping the channel to keep on running. And I'm just gonna leave it there. But with that, thank you so much once again. And we are on to the next one.
All right, and the next one goes to Justice Ryan, who puts in a $50 donation. Big shout out to Justice Ryan as well. And he says, hello, Enforcer and Matt, and sorry about MM's antics. He's just jealous. You and Matt's more popular than him. And like you said, YouTube handle things. They'll handle the king troll. And like I said, keep the fires burning. And Justice Ryan, I just want to say right now, because I want to make this clear. To me, it didn't matter if we were more popular, less popular, whatever. I respect everyone equally, no matter what subscriber count they've got. If somebody's doing a service or they're just doing anything that they want to do, it's up to them. Never had a problem with the fella. Actually, I supported the guy, believe it or not, before all this broke out. I actually went over there and supported him, gave him shout outs and stuff like that, which is just astonishing to me. It turned out to be the way it is right now, which shows you where his mindset really is. He never did that for us, but we did it for him. And then he turned on us, and it's ended up in probably the worst predicament I've ever seen in my entire 23 years of living, is this guy right here, who simply will not leave us alone under any circumstance. But big shout out to Justice, and also Enforcer, what say you?
And huge shout out to Justice, and Matthew's entirely correct with that. Everything we've ever done has been into response of something he's done. Like the copyright takedown requests aren't just randomly placed. They aren't an attack on us. His videos were attacking us and then ripping our videos. And so then we respond to that, and then somehow we're the victim. That's like someone running into a gas station with a gun, robbing the gas station owner, and the gas station owner defends himself and shoots back, and somehow the gas station owner is the villain of the story and the actual criminal. That makes no sense at all if you put it into that line of thinking, and that's what everyone's going with right here. But still, thank you so much for the support, Justice Ryan, and he will have his day in court. And also, this is another thing that people on YouTube are acting like the lawsuit and the copyright takedown requests are one and the same. They're two entirely separate things. The lawsuit's still going on its own avenue, and we still got to get that guy process served somehow when he runs through an airport again when he comes back to the States. But the copyright takedown requests are completely separate and entirely based on the merits of was it copyright infringement or not. It has nothing to do with the lawsuit. So when we sat there and saw, look, he put up a minute-long video of our stream. He didn't even say anything in the video. He just played our clip on his show. That is straight-up copyright infringement, and the other examples were as well. I mean, we went and combed it over, like, does that fall under fair use? And the answer is no. And that's why YouTube isn't appealing them and lifting them, because they're not. And so with that, we are on to the next one. But thank you so much once again, Justice Ryan, for the support.
Indeed. And up next, we have a $31 super chat from Margaret Hemsley. And big thanks to Margaret for that support as well. And Margaret says, backing you up all the way.
And thank you so much for the support, Margaret, and backing us up all the way. And I got to thank you once again for being here with us tonight and supporting us. And helping us to keep it running, but not only importantly that, but also backing us up during this trying and very difficult time. And so with that, thank you once again. I hope that does address that fairly well. And with that, we are on to the next one.
All right. And also, I saw somebody say, Activista said, of course, a lawsuit would make an interesting presentation in law school class one day, LOL. And, that is something that the guys, people don't know, is the law school is well aware of what's happening. We had to report that to the law school when that happened. So they know what's going on. So when they're over there thinking they're harassing us by calling the law school and stuff like that, obviously the intent is still there. Their intent is to harass. But in the end, it won't turn out to be anything because we've already reported it to them and they know what's going on. So obviously, we have our ducks in a row. We're not, unprepared or stupid or anything like that. But nonetheless, it is still harassment. That's what his people don't understand.
And I would have to completely agree with that as well. And I think Matthew summarized that up about as good as I can. And so with that, thank you so much once again for throwing in that comment. I hope we addressed that fairly well, Activista. And with that, we're on to the next one.
And the next one goes to Ziggy, who puts in a $30 donation. And big shout out to you as well for that support. And he said, every day I sit in my little office in Millennium, Queensland, and watch you guys. And my favorite part is when the enforcer tries to speak German. And keep it up, boys, and love the work. And thank you. Thank you.
And thank you so much for the support and helping the channel to keep on running. She said she's from Queensland. And where was it again?
It's Queensland, Maleny. Millennium?
Millennium. I'm looking for Millennium. Maybe it's not on the coast. Maybe it's way in the outback somewhere. I don't know.
Is it close to where the guy yelled he ate a succulent Chinese meal?
Oh, what are the charges? Eating a meal? A succulent? Is it Melanda?
No, it's not that. It's Millennium.
Millennium. Oh, here we go. I think we found it. And it's actually right on the coast. It's outside of where? Brisbane. And so thank you so much once again for the support. And really cool to hear that you watch us out there in Millennium in Queensland in Australia. And I love to know that you've been enjoying the channel and enjoyed it enough to find it worthwhile to support us and help us to keep this thing running. It means a lot to us that so many people have, of course, come out and supported the channel tonight. Not just in super chats and helping us to do this as a job, but also supporting us in all of the things that have been going on around the internet so far on this. And so with that, I hope that does address that fairly well. And thank you so much once again for the support. And with that, we are on to the next one. And Beeps needs finding food and treasure. I have to agree. It's absolutely crazy. I would have never thought in my life that someone would be able to dox us and then people would come to their defense when we try and defend ourselves against this stalker. I honestly can't believe it either. And so with that, we are on to the next one.
All right, and our next super chat goes to Santiago Flores, who puts in a $20 donation as well. Big shout out to Santiago, longtime channel legend. And Santiago says, for the coffee and pizza fund for law school, and pick a question, please.
And thank you so much for the support, and thank you for throwing in some support to the coffee fund and helping us to keep this thing running. It's great to have you here tonight. I got to thank you so much once again. We will make sure to try and get a coffee with that, and we will get a live chat as well. And so with that, what do we got, Matthew?
All right, and our live chat question is going to go to King Rats, who says, when do you think we can expect to see Abrams tanks on the front?
We'll probably be seeing Abrams tanks on the front within the next few weeks, I'm assuming, considering that they have arrived in Ukraine, and they're most likely going through some shakedowns at some training fields before they finally get sent to the front lines in a fighting unit. And so with that, thank you so much once again for support. I hope that does address that fairly well. And Barry, I doubt it. I've got to be honest with you. I was an optimist at the beginning of the war. I'm not an optimist now about folks. For all we know, this guy is going to sit there and make his own video going, oh, look, the enforcer's exposed for nothing. So I wouldn't count on it, but, you know, who knows? Maybe I'll be proven wrong. But with that, we are on to the next one.
All right, and moving on to our next super chat, we have one from Jesus UCSB once again, who throws in a $50 donation this time. And thank you very much, Jesus, for, I believe, the third support of the night. He says, love the energy. And enforcers, here's a life lesson from the Army. You will know who your friends are during the darkest times. And we in the LSA are with you. And I've been attacked, and I'm still here in LSA.
And I got to thank you so much for the support, Jesus. And I have to say that it is certainly a life lesson that when you're in your darkest times, you find out who your friends are, and we've really found that out today, that's for certain. And I got to thank you so much once again for support, Jesus, and helping the channel to keep on running. It means, and I've said this so much tonight, but it really does mean a lot to us that so many people have come out and support. They've hit the like button. You all supported the channel. You have supported the channel more tonight than any other night in the past few months, which is absolutely unbelievable. It's crazy. I don't even know how. But I still thank you so much once again. And I've got to thank everyone in the Lee Spring Army for backing us up in this situation, because it's one hell of a conundrum here, and one we've tried to deal with very carefully and very fragilely, just for everyone to come in at the end and try and bust their teeth in over it. And so with that, thank you so much once again. I hope that does address that fairly well. And with that, we're on to the next one.
All right, and the next one goes to Cliff H, who puts in a $20 donation as well. Excuse me. And Cliff says, I support the LSA and support Ukraine 100%. I back you in defending yourselves, and I would not have handled it as well as you have. And the other YouTubers commenting should take several seats and calm down.
And I thank you for the support. I think that largely should be the case. And before people come out and make videos talking about what we're doing and what's been going on in between us, maybe ask around for a little bit of the facts, because I'm telling y'all, if they had come up to us and asked us, hey, what's going on, we would have explained exactly what was going on and what was happening. And it's also,
and to be honest with you, it wouldn't even been their business then for us to explain it, but we would have explained it anyway, just to, give them the benefit of the doubt, to let them clear up the situation since they're curious.
Yeah, and that's largely true as well. And we've sat here since the beginning, and y'all were here last night when we were saying this as well. I said, I don't want y'all going around the internet and spreading this crap around. This is entirely in between us and Mercado Media. We don't want anyone else involved. And that's entirely because we don't want this to affect the rest of the Ukraine war community. This is something that is in between him and me as persons. Well, me, Matthew, and him as persons. And we want it to be that way. And this guy didn't want that. And now other people want to jump in and join the bandwagon. So to be honest with y'all, while I'm not saying go out there and cause a riot or anything, if y'all want to go around Twitter, YouTube, or wherever and sit there and say, that's not true, I'm not against that whatsoever. Go out there and let it be known what's really going on, because apparently whoever complains the loudest or shouts the loudest on YouTube is the one that's right nowadays. It doesn't have anything to do with being harassed or threatened or doxxed or anything like that. Nothing to do with that. If you shout the loudest, you win. So go out there and shout as loud as y'all can if y'all want. Just don't get violent about it and don't do anything crazy. And so with that, I hope that does address that fairly well. But thank you so much once again for the support and helping the channel to keep on running. And with that, we are on to the next one.
And the next one goes to Seba, who puts in a $20 donation and says, have a shot of Jack, and take a chat question.
And I think
we've never resorted to drinking yet, even though a lot of our peers in law school have resorted to drinking heavily. We haven't touched the stuff, and I probably won't, because knowing how this stuff is going right here with people trying to kick us in the teeth, I'd probably become an alcoholic. So not touching it, but I do understand where you're coming from. But Enforcer, what say you?
And I gotta thank you so much for the support. And Matthew, can you reread that one again real quick? Because the live chat, I'm trying to keep an eye on the live chat. So can you reread that one again?
Have a shot of Jack.
Well, I thank you for the support. We actually don't drink. I don't drink as a kind of a habit thing, because I'm usually so busy that if I drank, I would get thrown off schedule-wise. And also, I'm just not really a big fan of it personally. So I do thank you for the support. I will have a root beer, though. And thank you once again for helping the channel to keep on running, because folks like you have made this thing possible, helped to keep it possible, and I gotta thank you so much once again. And so with that, we are on to the next one.
All right, and our next one goes to Sean, who puts in a 20, and thank you very much, Sean, for that support. He says, love the job y'all do, and is Commonwealth of Independent States or Collective Secretary Treaty Organization in danger of falling apart, and Slava Ukraine?
I would say no. I would say that it's probably not. To be honest with you, that phrase of words right there has really thrown me off. But I do thank you so much for the support, and I would have to say my initial inclination would be no. I think it's largely going to stay somewhat held together, at least for the foreseeable future. And so with that, thank you so much once again. I hope that does address that fairly well. And with that, we are on to the next one.
And the next one goes to Jamie W., who puts in a 20 as well. And thank you, Jamie, for that support. He says, hello from Victoria, BC, Canada. And love what you two do. And cheers as always. And one from the chat, please. And thanks, JHW.
And I got to thank you so much for the support from Victoria, Canada. And I don't know what's wrong with my mind, because I'd be able to find Victoria every other time but now. So let me type in Victoria, Canada. Victoria, it was in British Columbia. What the hell? Oh my god, it's literally, it's on Vancouver Island. I should have known. I should have known that.
It's Victoria, BC.
Victoria, BC. But still, thank you so much once again for the support and helping the channel to keep on running. Wonderful to know that you're up there in Victoria. I hear that the place, well, the bay, or more so, I think this is, I'm trying to think of the name of this place. Isn't this like Puget? Wait a minute, no, it's the Rosario Strait and the Haro Strait, or the San Juan Islands. I've heard that this area is just beautiful up there. And I've got to thank you so much for the support. I hope it is as beautiful as people say. And thank you so much once again for helping this channel to keep on running and enjoying this channel and supporting us so that way we can do this as a job. And I got to thank you so much once again for the support. I don't know why I turned into a former president right there going, oh, but still, thank you. I say, get him while he's hot. But still, with that, thank you so much once again for support. Hope that does address that fairly well. And Battler 1975, that's nothing new. That's just another one added, another feather to the hat. What do you know? But with that, we're on to the next one. And also, I'd like y'all to see really quickly, Battler, how vindictive people are in this community. They got the facts wrong, clean out of the gate, just sided with some stalker, and then we sit there and correct him. We get pissed off because he sits there and just doubles down, and then he triples down after that. Doesn't even listen to reasoning or nothing. And so with that, we're on to the next one.
All right, and moving on to the next one, we have a $20 donation from Marion Deemert. And Marion is a longtime channel viewer as well. Thank you, Marion, for that support. And she says, please do not take these imbeciles as being important. They are jealous of the success, and hugs.
And I got to thank you for the support, Marion Deemert. And I have to agree with you. I usually wouldn't take these people with a grain of salt. But one thing I have to say, Marion, is that we have to take them a little bit seriously. Because as you all know on the internet, there is no due process to nothing. It's just the court of public opinion. And now we've got people just crawling out of the woodworks to go join the side that's trying to dox us, harass us, and everything like that. And so,
I believe there will be more, because I saw one being actively recruited today. I won't say their name because they haven't done anything yet, but believe me, there will probably be more. Unless they watch tonight and they see how bad this has backfired on their friends, then they might not try it. But I don't know.
Backfiring in someone's face, that's never phased anyone from doing anything. Hell, you could sit there and have a tornado blowing outside of these people's house. They'd open up the front door and run into it headlong at this point. I don't know what the hell's going on with it anymore. But that's why we care a little bit, because like with Jake Bro, he's got 406,000 subscribers, and now he's going to sit there and probably try and make a video on us and probably say things that are blatantly untrue about the whole situation. Once again, to try and screw us over and kick us in the teeth, when he involved himself in something that wasn't even his deal and went in and completely misjudged the situation, and now he's pissed off because we called him out for it. And so that's why we care. Beyond that, I usually wouldn't. Usually I would give someone like Mercado $5 on the side of the street and then just keep driving, but sadly, it's not that kind of world. But with that, thank you once again for support, and we're on to the next one.
All right, and our next one goes to That Mom, who puts in a $20 donation. And a big shout out to That Mom for the support. And she says, enforcers, you'll have your day in court and win. And don't let the devil distract you from bettering yourselves. Fight it in court, not on the streets. And I can definitely agree with that. And I said, take a deep breath and focus on what you're building. Oh, and call your family. Oh, yeah, call your family. I do remember that.
And thank you so much for the support, That Mom, and helping the channel to keep on running. And I've got to say, we will have our day in court. We will win. There's no question about it. And also, someone made a statement today that was legally ignorant, saying that defamation cases are hard to prove. Actually, the burden is on the defendant to prove that their statements are true.
Let's leave that legal talk out of that for right now. Let's leave that out.
Yeah, we'll leave that out. But yeah, we will have our day in court. We will win. And we're gonna keep hammering this thing home. If someone wants to keep on doing what they're doing. And also, Matthew, I've heard that apparently he's streaming our stream on his gaming channel just in its entirety as well tonight. So
I heard. Yeah, he's got nothing to lose at this point.
Yeah, and he knows, everyone's going to come defend me now, although I'm in the wrong and I've doxed them and harassed them and everything for 10 months. Everyone will come and defend me now because I'm the righteous child of damn hellfire and torture and just damn right harassment. But anyways, thank you once again for support, That Mom. I hope that does address that fairly well. Make sure to call y'all's family. No, tonight's just a damn night of hellfire and brimstone on this channel, but make sure to call your families as a side note. They love you, y'all love them, and you never know when they're going to be gone. And so with that, thank you once again. Hope that does address that well, and we are on to the next one.
All right, and our next one goes to Chili's Bees, who puts in a $20 donation. And big shout out to Chili's Bees for that support. And they said, Mr. Avocado Fund, ha 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 ha.
Well, I thank you for the support. That's a pretty creative one. And I gotta thank you for helping the channel to keep on running and helping us to keep that thing, well, keeping this thing going. And so with that, thank you so much once again. I hope that does address that fairly well. And damn, we're gonna be here all night. But still, thank you once again. And we are on to the next one.
And you know what? I'm totally fine being here all night tonight because it's been a long day and I probably would have lost sleep anyway because of all the harassment we've gotten. So why not stay here all night anyway? Let's see. I can't remember what time I wake up this morning, to be honest with you. I was about to say something about that, but I can't remember.
I woke up at
but anyway,
5:40 in the morning this morning. I've been going all day ever since without a break.
I think I might have woken up at the same time, I think. I'm pretty sure. That's wild. Like, it's kind of disturbing. I can't remember that. But anyways, moving on to our next super chat. We have a $50 donation from Wendy Buchanan. Big shout out to you, Wendy, for that support. And let me check. That is your first super chat of the stream. I knew it was because I hadn't seen that name before. So big shout out to you, Wendy, for helping support the channel. And she says, you would think a supporter of Ukraine would be against the behavior of being attacked and spreading lies that are unprovoked. And I really enjoy your information and support you both. And thank you very much, Wendy.
And I thank you so much for the support, Wendy, and helping the channel to keep on running. And you think they would. But no one really looks into stuff a lot. And that's funny because a lot of people say we're surface level, and then everyone's analysis of the situation outside of Mercado has been very surface level with it and haven't even asked us about our side. They just go with what they say at face value. And you would think that they would. You would think that they'd actually do what they say, which is research something and figure out what the actual story is before they just run in headlong and go, oh, look, the enforcers are the villains because they're defending themselves. Look at that. How evil. But, you know, gotta say it again. It's apparently the world we live in, and I guess we're just gonna have to soldier on and keep dealing with it. And so with that, thank you so much once again. Hope that does address that well. And we are on to the next one.
And the next one goes to Cindy Mitchell, once again, who puts in a $20 donation and says, stop it, my darling. It's about Ukraine and us LSA and all Timbits.
And thank you so much for the support. And I've got to say, the amount of people who are carrying the banner of the Lee Spring Army tonight are absolutely unbelievable. There's so many of y'all who've put LSA in y'all's live chats. It really does blow me away. And I don't even know how to put it into words. I got to be honest with y'all because it's a whirlwind. It's really a roller coaster, a whirlwind of emotions. I don't really know how to explain it. That we go through on a daily basis doing this. We go through fear, anger, resentment, a whole bunch of stuff behind the scenes trying to run this thing. And it's absolutely amazing to know that people do actually believe our side of the story and back us up in this entire thing. And so with that, thank you so much once again for the support. I hope that does address that fairly well. And with that, we are on to the next one.
All right, and our next one goes to Tom Exman, who puts in a $20 donation. And Tom is also a longtime channel viewer, and he says, I'll help you feel better also. We all give support. Try relax a little.
And I thank you for the support. Wish we could relax, but there is no relaxing in this kind of work, and I don't think there should be. I think war analysis is something that is, while we keep it usually very light and joke around about it, it is a very serious thing to me, and I feel like we shouldn't really take a vacation until this war is over. That's been my mindset on this ever since the start, and I largely believe in that now, even with everything that's going on. You know, and what's something about this is that it is very easy for us to, like, and I'm not saying we are, let me make that clear, but it would be very easy for us to just get up and walk off. Like, anyone can do that. There's nothing stopping us from doing that. But we sit here every single night, and we go through all of the harassment. It never ends. It's been going on for 10 months. And we sit down, we deal with that every day, and we still put out this news. And we barely even make mention of this stuff for about 10 months. This is the first time we've ever mentioned the guy's channel by name who's doing this to us. The first time tonight. And so I got to thank you so much for the support. I hope that does address that well. And with that, we are on to the next one.
All right, and our next one goes to, while I grab one more thing out of the live chat here real quick. Let me grab that and copy and paste. Our next super chat is going to go to... Dang, I got out of order a little bit. Let's see here. It goes to First No BLE Pup, who puts in a $26 donation, and big shout out to you for that support. And they said, go on, lads. Tonight is therapy. Onward and upwards.
And I got to thank you for the support. Onwards and upwards. And tonight isn't therapy. Honestly, I do that off screen, you know, like trying to deal with this all. But tonight it's just us telling y'all what's been going on. And, you know, we've done our damnedest to make sure that this doesn't extend into the rest of the community, but the rest of the community apparently wants to get involved anyway, so, you know, why the hell not? So with that, I thank you once again for the support, and hope that does address that fairly well. And with that, we are on to the next one. But thank you so much once again for support and backing us up in this whole thing.
Indeed. And our next super chat is going to go to, let's see here. It's going to go to, if my computer will load, Mr. Bitten, spelled Mr. Bit and then the number 10, who puts in a $20 donation. And thank you very much for that support. They said, I've been here a long time, and when most were still watching webcams, when your mod team defected, when you had the commie guy on, when you criticized leaf spring suspension, and I will be here when we see a free Ukraine, and stay strong.
And I gotta thank you so much for the support, and you've been around for a damn long time then, because that was a long time ago. And a lot's happened since then, you know, and that was really our first taste of things too, when the Discord mods went and rebelled the first time for no reason. And also their thing, by the way, was that they were wanting to get paid to be Discord mods, which was ridiculous, because it's like, I don't even know how many hours y'all are being Discord mods. And also, like, there isn't enough money going through this channel for us to just pay out like 10 staff members on a Discord server. It's like, that's ridiculous. But that's what they broke away for. So you've been around for an incredibly long time, and it's absolutely crazy to know that you have been around. And hopefully everyone will be around for when the war ends. You know, the road ahead is going to be a lot tougher for us. I already know that in the background. And I'll be honest with y'all, we are probably going to be going through the next few weeks of pure hell from every single side of things, but we've done nothing wrong. We still aren't doing anything wrong, and I'm going to stand by my guns. I'm not one to back down from peer pressure and bullying from other people who don't even know what the story is. If they were pro-Ukrainian, they would have stepped up when the guy first doxed us and said that was out of line. And so with that, thank you once again for support. I hope that does address that well, and we are on to the next one.
And I'll be honest, when stuff like this starts happening, when people all try to gang up against somebody, especially us, that makes me want to stay even more. That makes me more determined not to go anywhere, because I'm sure as hell not going to get run off by a group of people with bad intentions. That's not going to happen. So you have to put us out, basically is what we're saying. But with that being said, we're moving on to our next super chat question, which goes to Duncan VR, who puts in a $25 donation. And big shout out to you, Duncan, for that support. He said, Bamuba, ba quack, ba boom. Without you two, I am forced to watch Baba Moo. CNN, oh my God. Ba Moo. Or Fox.
Ooh.
Oh.
Both of those
quack,
bad.
meow. You two are doing a tremendous job, Ba Moo. Stand up for your rights. Yes, Ba Moo. Geslick for liking. Keep doing what you're doing. Ba.
And thank you so much for the support, Duncan VR, and I can't believe it. Even on a night as serious as this, we got the animal noises. But still,
yep.
Thank you so much once again for helping this channel to keep on running, Duncan. You are truly a special person in this Leaf Spring Army because of the animal noises. It is the funniest thing. And especially tonight, that threw me off guard that Matthew started reading off animal noises from you. I thought it was going to be something like, man, you know, screw the haters, but I heard Babu. I was like, no way. But still, thank you so much for helping the channel to keep on running. And the best thing I can say tonight is hopefully we'll still be on air. You know, we will be on air if we have a choice until the end of the war. And so with that, thank you so much once again for the support and helping the channel to keep on running. Folks like you have been around forever, Duncan VR, and have been with us every single step of the way. And I'm happy to know that many of y'all will continue to be here with us every single moment until the very end. And so with that, thank you so much once again. Hope that does address that well. And we are on to the next one.
And on this one, we have a $50 donation from MN Girl. And first of all, I want to say this, by the way, just a side note. I've said some derogatory things about the state of Minnesota, if that's what MN is referring to, which I assume it is. And I want to say that I have nothing against Minnesota, just because that one individual lives there that happens to be harassing the hell out of us. And I've just said things about Minnesota because I'm upset about the fella. I actually want to go to y'all's state fair because it looks pretty nice. I saw a food like video on that the other day. It looked really nice and some good food there. So, Amen, girl, thank you very much for that support. And she says, so glad you're standing up for yourselves publicly.
And thank you so much for the support, Minnesota Girl or MN Girl, and helping the channel to keep running. And thank you for appreciating that we're standing up for ourselves. A lot of people are always saying it's about Ukraine, and it is. And that's why we've kept this in the background for 10 months. And we have never brought this into the light of day. And we've told y'all multiple times, and many of y'all have been here for this, that we aren't going to cover it much because the channel's about Ukraine, and we're for supporting Ukraine. The other guy has had completely different intentions. And at some point, there's a line that is crossed where you can't sit there and go, I'm going to excuse all wrongdoings, and I'm just going to just ignore everything. And there's a point where you go, that has crossed the line. Something has to be done. That's the problem with the world these days, is that you see corrupt cops, you see corrupt politicians, you see corrupt people in every single sphere because everyone wants to act like they're buddies and let everyone get away with whatever the hell they want. I'm not into that. I will never be into that. This guy has gone and crossed the line in multiple ways. He's defamed us. He's gone and had people harass us. I can't say this enough. He's doxed us. And all of y'all know on the internet, that's a cardinal sin to dox someone. That is the worst thing you can do. He's doxed us. He continues to dox us. Every time he says on his videos, go to the link in the description for the Discord, he's telling people that, so that way they can go there and they can get our home address, because it's in the damn Discord server. That's what he's doing. And it's insane. It's just ludicrous that this has been going on, and we finally stand up for ourselves and defend ourselves, and then we're going to be the villains of the story, because we're sitting here and saying, this guy has been harassing the shit out of us. And we didn't even do anything to this guy to bring this on. He started this on his own, and we can pull up all the emails and messages we have been sending him. We have been cordial with him and saying good things about him, saying, hey, dude, you've got a pretty okay channel, man. Like, let's be friends. No, he didn't want any of that. But still, thank you once again for the support, MN Girl, and helping the channel to keep on running and standing with us while we go through this incredibly trying time in the channel. And so with that, we are on to the next one. And thank you once again.
All right, and up next we have a load computer. This is the first night my MacBook is actually not going as fast as it usually goes, but we have a $20 super chat from Blue Flam 777 LSA once again, and big shout out to Blue Flam very much for that support. They said, love you lads, and my mama done said you gonna send the question to the chat, or she gonna send her mama to fix it. That's my grandma. And don't F with my granny. Question to the chat ×2.
I'm not effing with your granny. I promise you that. And we will make sure to send it to the live chat, Blue Flam 777. And thank you once again for being old guard of the channel and helping this thing to keep on running. And so with that, hope that does address that fairly well. And with that, let's get to live chat.
All right. And also, the live chat question is going to go to, let's see here. It's going to go to Margaret Hemsley, who says, have you seen the new drone killers, the Slingers, being sent from Australia?
I have not sent, I don't think I've seen the Slinger sent. I've seen other drones from Australia sent. I believe they're made of cardboard or something like that, but I don't know if those are the Slingers or not. So I'm going to have to declare ignorance. If they're the cardboard drones, I have heard about them. If they're not, I'd have to be honest, I'd have to declare ignorance on that. And so with that, thank you so much once again. Hope that does address that well. And we are on to the next one.
Let's see here real quick. Looks like Israel might be being invaded right now.
What?
I'm not sure if this is like a straight up thing, but it looks like something's going on in Israel right now. I saw some folks in the live chat saying someone is doing something here. I'm looking at videos. It appears to be a lot of stuff coming out on Twitter about it. 40 to 50 infiltrators able to successfully enter Israel. So I don't think that's like a straight up like military invasion or anything. It sounds like some group or something, but I'm not really sure.
Interesting. I think I've seen some about some militants using paragliders and paramotors to get over the border. But you know, we'll cover that tomorrow. If it's something worth covering, we will make sure to cover it tomorrow. And so with that, we are on to the next one.
All right, and our next one goes to Susan Lowell, who puts in a $12 donation. And big shout out to Susan, and she says, LSA rocks.
Hey, and thank you so much for the support, Susan, and the Lee Spring Army does rock. And I got to say, it's amazing to know that so many people are behind the LSA tonight. It's incredible to see, and I love to know that so many people have also been hitting the like button as well, because we've been dislike bombed tonight, and a lot of y'all are helping to keep the tide from rolling over us by hitting the like button. So I got to thank y'all so much once again for the support and helping this thing to keep on running. And with that, we are on to the next one.
All right, and our next one, let's see here. Hold on just a second. Had a little bit of a spreadsheet error here. Let me try to copy and paste one thing real quick. Let's see what was happening with that. All right, that is weird. I'll have to copy and paste that in a second. But anyways, moving on to our next one, we have a $10 donation from Jesus UCSB once again. Big shout out to Jesus. He says, get them likes up. Viva LSA. Tonight is the night.
Hey, and get the likes up. Hit the like button as much as you can. And long live the Lee Spring Army. And thank you so much for encouraging folks to do that, because it really means a lot right now. And so with that, thank you so much once again. I hope that does address that well. And we are on to the next one.
And I'm going to go ahead and read this one off because for some reason I'm getting a parsing error whenever I try to copy and paste it, which is very strange. This is a 15 something currency there from Bomber of Doom, excuse me. And they said plus 200 rockets fired from Gaza into Israel past hour, and Palestinian militants enter Israeli city, and they're killing the citizens.
Interesting. By the way, Matthew, does that little currency symbol look like a two C's that are like stacked on top of each other?
Yes.
That's a shekel. So that's actually
I
someone
thought maybe it was something like that.
Yeah, so that's actually someone who's in Israel, and I thank you for the support, and that's actually something we just saw on Twitter, but we're going to wait a little while for tomorrow to put a story out on that. That does look very serious, though, and just to give you a little bit of a rundown, it appears that militants are using paragliders to glide over the border at the Gaza Strip and into Israel right now. We don't really know much more than that. Those are really the only videos we have gotten at the moment, and I would show them, but, you know, of course, there are some very massive time constraints tonight. It probably would be better for us to be able to get more video footage and clips and more information so that way we can put out the story tomorrow in a much more complete way than we would be able to tonight. And so with that, thank you so much once again for the support and sharing that with us. I hope everything's all right down there for you, and I hope that things are able to be kept under control and the lives of citizens are not put in jeopardy because of very conspicuous and very brutal attacks. And so with that, thank you so much once again. I hope that does address that well, and I hope that you stay safe down there, and we will pray for you. And so with that, we are on to the next one.
And on this one, we have a super chat from Is Pimp, and it's good to see you once again. They are back. They put in a $20 donation and said for the pizza, coffee, and corgi snack. And sorry you guys are dealing with clowns, but know you have our support, and keep true to yourselves, and long live the LSA. And both of you are doing a commendable thing, and keep on enforcing. And big shout out to you, Is Pimp, and thank you for the kind words.
And I gotta thank you so much for the support, Is Pimp, and thank you for supporting the pizza, coffee, and corgi snacks. And I, of course, want to say that none of y'all should feel, well, you know, I appreciate that y'all feel sorry, but I don't think any of y'all shoulder the blame for what's going on right now. Of course, it's something that's been brewing for 10 months. We've been trying to make sure to keep it civil, keep it in the background, and they go, and this guy goes around, and he does his thing, and then people want to go and act like we're the villains in the story. And we've explained it so much tonight. It's been unbelievable. I think we've told the story more times than we ever could have, even if we covered it from the start. But I got to thank you so much once again, Is Pimp, for supporting us and helping us to keep this thing going. And we will make sure to keep true to ourselves, like we always have. And that's why, no matter what people say and no matter what people do, we are not backing down on our position. We're not. I don't care what happens. I have no care at all. I have been pro-Ukraine since day one. I wasn't even monetized on day one. I wasn't even monetized until 2.5 weeks into the war. I was doing all of that with no idea of any benefit or even making this a job at that point when we were doing that. And I was doing it just for the hell of it. We ran our first fundraiser, I think, before I even made my first dollar doing this as a job. And so if I did it then, and I'm still doing it now, I'm going to keep doing it the way we've been doing it. I've always stood up for what I believed in. I've always stood up for my values and the way I think things should be. And that's how I'm going to do it, damn it. I'm just going to keep running it that way, because if I ran it other people's ways, I'd be sitting there blasting people for all kinds of stuff. Like, you know, hell, can think of a whole bunch of stuff, but I'm going to try and keep it as civil as possible, although I'm sure people are out there on the Twitter sphere just typing the hell out of their phones and probably busting the screens doing it. But still, thank you so much once again for the support, Is Pimp. I hope that does address that well, and we are on to the next one.
All right. And moving on to our next super chat, we have a $10 super chat from Corky M, and who puts in a $10 donation. He says, "Slove Ukraine," and like they say in baseball, they always do 3 strikes and you're out. LLC.
And I thank you so much for the support. I'd have to agree. 3 strikes, you're out. That's it. And that's something I'm guessing that folks are going to learn. You know, hell. Anyways, I'm trying to figure out how to cover this at this point, and I feel like my voice is actually giving out on me because I usually talk in such a high-pitched voice. I'm actually more used to that than talking in my normal voice like I am right now. But still, thank you so much once again. I hope that does address that fairly well. And 3 strikes, you're out. Hey, you know what? If the guy wants to, oh, excuse me. But with that, we're on to the next one.
All right. So up next, we have a $10 super chat from Ari Suini. And big shout out to Ari. They said, "Good work, guys," and for the coffee fund from Kiwi Girl and Finn.
Hey, and thank you so much for the support from Kiwi Girl and Finn. And thank you so much for supporting the coffee fund. Takes a lot of coffee and a lot of Monster Energy drinks to keep me running nowadays. Sometimes I actually drink a Monster in the middle of the day and coffee at night to try and keep running through all of it. But I gotta thank you so much once again for the support and helping us keep this thing rolling, because we gotta do us. And so with that, thank you so much once again. I hope that does address that well. And with that, we are on to the next one.
All right, and up next we have a $10 super chat from James Delval, and thank you, James, very much for that support. They said, to show my support, take a question from the chat enforcer Matt and make it a good one. And I will make it a good one. Thank you, James, very much for that support. And let me see if I can spot a good one. And let's see here. This one is going to go to Riddle Me This. He says, have you heard about the Ukrainian Hunter-Killer 20 attack drone? It's supposed to have a range of up to 1,000 kilometers and a 15-kilogram warhead payload.
And yes, I have heard about that drone. We've actually covered it on the stream, and we were talking about how it could practically strike anywhere within Western Russia, practically, as long as it's in theater. So yes, we have, and it's actually a massive advancement for the Ukrainians, because through that weapon system, you can attack anywhere you want inside of the Russian mainland and probably get away with it, like we've seen so far, like the attack at Pskov, where 2 IL-76s were destroyed, and I think 2 more were damaged. And so with that, thank you so much once again for support. I hope that does address that fairly well, and thank you for sponsoring that live chat. And with that, we are on to the next one.
All right, and the next one goes to Ed, who puts in a $10 donation. And thank you, Ed, very much. He says, hey, Irish Ed from Harrisburg, Pennsylvania here. Couple questions. How did the LSA get his name? Also, besides Washington, who's your favorite founding father and why? It seems we need a founding father in Eastern Europe.
And I thank you so much for the support. To answer your last question first, my favorite president is Teddy Roosevelt. Absolutely my favorite. I love the Food and Drug Act. I think it was an amazing thing to do. Honestly, if I ever became president in 2040, I would do a Food and Drug Act, without a doubt, a second one that would start to improve on what we've seen so far. Honestly, I just got to say, I massively respect Theodore Roosevelt, Teddy Roosevelt, President Roosevelt, or Roosevelt, whatever you want to call him. And to answer the question about how the Lee Spring Army got its name, it's actually something that I think is quite a funny way that we named it. I got a mistake wrong way back in the day. I don't really know a lot about vehicle suspension systems, and back in the day we saw a Russian Panzer I burning in a field near Chernihiv, and it had a visible leaf spring suspension on its rear axle, and I looked at that and I said, oh my god, that's archaic, because I had watched a Chevy ad in the 1930s, from the 1930s, that talked about how how leaf springs are going to be obsolete in the next 10 to 15 years from when that film was made. So I was like, oh, the leaf springs have to be obsolete at this point. So I said that, and then it was a firestorm in the live chat, and I had gotten it wrong. Leaf springs are still used on a lot of vehicles nowadays. It was just a complete misstatement. So, of course, pulled it up, researched it, found out I was wrong, backtracked, told everyone I was sorry, that was a misstatement, a fact, not true. And so people kept on going with it, that eventually everyone was like, damn, they're so obsessed with it. And someone said in the chat, it's like a Lee Spring Army. And we were like, all right, that clicks, we're going with it. And that's how the community got its name of the Lee Spring Army. It was because of a mistake I made. And people, believe it or not, haters actually bash that it's named after a mistake. But I think it shows that the Lee Spring Army can do everything it can, and it still is humble enough to recognize a mistake. And I hope that everyone's like that, because there are some people out there who will not recognize mistakes. You know, we make mistakes a decent amount of the time. We'll correct them on stream. If we have a duplicate video or we got a fact wrong and someone corrects us, we'll correct it live. But one thing I will say, though, because I know someone's about to say, oh, you know, but you're not going to admit you're wrong with what you're doing right now. No, because we're not wrong. We've been through this enough. We know everything that's going on. We're not in the wrong. We're in the right. And we're going to stick on that position until the end of time. And so with that,
and also remember, folks, remember this, that as a YouTube creator, all you can do in reference to copyright violations and infringement is you can submit takedown requests to YouTube. That is simply a request, like I said at the beginning of the stream. You submit it to YouTube, and then they have to make the determination as to whether or not your claim is valid or not. And in all 3 cases, they have been deemed to be valid. And in fact, in 2 out of the 3 cases, the appeals have also been denied as well. And YouTube also said that the perpetrator, Mercado, was potentially violating or misusing their appeal process. So, I mean, that's as pretty straightforward as you can get. That's not even our subjective thing. That's YouTube. They're the ones actually taking it down.
And so with that, I hope that does address that fairly well, and we are on to the next one.
And the next one goes to, let's see here. Excuse me. This one goes to Surprise It's Us, who I believe has left for the night, sadly, but no comment to address, but they left a $10 donation. And big shout out, Surprise It's Us. And Enforcer, what say you?
And I gotta thank you so much for the support, Surprise It's Us. You didn't throw in a comment, but the support does help us to keep the thing running. And I gotta thank you so much once again, because it really does mean a lot to us that so many folks have not only supported us tonight in words, but have supported us tonight in actual monetary support. We do this as a job, and if it wasn't for y'all who supported the channel with y'all's hard-earned dollars, we would have never been able to make this thing possible. And so with that, thank you so much once again. I hope that does address that well, and we are on to the next one.
All right, and we have a $10 super chat from Jason Carpenters, who says the LSA is here to see this thing through until the last Russian soldier leaves Ukraine. All of this other crap means nothing to me, and you're killing it, bro. You're killing it.
And thank you so much for the support and helping the channel to keep on running. It means a lot to us that folks are backing us up through and through the whole way. It really does mean a lot, and I gotta thank you so much once again for the support and backing us up as well, because it just means a great deal to us. I can't even put it into words how much it means, because with so many people, you know, coming around and doing their thing, you would think that no one would be backing us up, and yet y'all are. And so thank y'all so much for that. And so with that, we are on to the next one. I've also been told that we have 50 super chats left right now. 50
Yes.
of them.
Yes.
It is an unbelievable number. It's monumental. So we're going to have to start speeding it up a little bit. We're not going to go and do a speed round tonight, but we are going to have to start speeding it up a little bit. And so with that, we are on to the next one.
All right, and up next we have a... okay, hold on. Let me get rid of this bot real quick. There we go. I can multitask most of the time, but when my brain starts getting tired, I really can't do it. So I had to take a quick little snap break there. But anyways, we have a $10 super chat from Stuart Sampson as well as Vance Hicks. And we don't have any comments from either one, but big shout out to Stuart and Vance for that support. And we do appreciate it very much. And we are moving on to our next one, which goes to Bruce Lucas, who puts in a 10 and says, my first. And hey, thank you. They said, checked out that other guy's site. I've made better with GeoCities back in the day, LOL. Keep up the good work, and maybe mentioned it, but look into Memory Still Ukraine, a neat way to support Ukraine and LSA.
And thank you for the support. I will look into that. And also, thank you for backing us up. And I got to say, the other guy is crazy. I mean, it's crazy when you see someone who says they're pro-Ukrainian, but they hate a pro-Ukrainian channel more than they hate the Russians. That kind of is a big red flag, I would say. But with that, thank you so much once again for support. And with that, we are on to the next one.
And this one goes to Julian Lawson, who puts in a 10 and says, hello again from historic Yorktown, Virginia. And y'all have put your heart and soul into the stream. And Mercado is a fake Ukraine supporter. And if Jake Bro's on his side, let me know and I will unsubscribe.
And I thank you for the support. I'm not really into the idea of people unsubscribing from other channels, but hell, you know, why not? Because right now, looking at our number, we've lost about 800 subscribers so far today, and it's still going on. From largely people just backing up someone who's been lying on us. So if you want, you can. It seems like he largely backs the guy up, so you use your own judgment and you exercise it well. So with that, I thank you so much once again for support. Hope that does address that fairly well. Because from what we can tell, he's clearly not on our side, because he was actually just in here a little while ago after we sat there and said everything that this guy has done to us before we took any action against him at all. And he decides to come in and make it still sound like we're in the wrong, and then goes to Twitter and says we're crybabies for being scared for our lives because someone's doxed our house, and there's crazy people out there saying they're going to show up to our house all the time.
He said, well, I treated y'all politely. It was like, well, you treated us politely while suggesting we were sabotaging and harassing a pro-Ukraine channel, which obviously caused people to think that we were in the wrong. That's as obvious as that his statement is intended to be.
Treated us really politely when we showed our case to him and said, look, this is what this guy has done to us. This is what the whole thing is. And then he didn't even give us the time of day to respond to that and go, I didn't know that, or I knew that and I don't care. Didn't even give us the time of day on that. And then says, I was polite about it. No, he was not. And so with that, we are on to the next one.
All right, and we have a $10 super chat from K Darch1, who puts in a 10 and says, hooked since day 12, and thanks for being open and honest from fundraising to this stuff. Buy a pie place, hey, with creme brulee coffee. And after war, where would you visit in Ukraine and believe should have a memorial?
I would visit most likely Bakhmut. If we're talking about memorials, Bakhmut is the bloodiest battle of the entire war, and I think that if any memorial, a massive memorial, should be made for the war, it should be at the battlefield of Bakhmut. That is going to be equivalent of the Somme in the First World War, or in the Second World War, if we're talking about the Western Front, it would be very similar to the Battle of Aachen, which was one of the bloodiest and worst battles of the Western Front for the Allied forces on that side of things. And so with that, I thank you for the support. I hope that does address that fairly well. And with that, we are on to the next one.
And the next one goes to I Love TL, who puts in a 10 and does not leave a comment. We also have a 10 from Kathy. And thank you both for the support very much. And there's no comments to address. I think I said that, but thank you both very much for our support and helping to keep the channel running. And we also have a $10 super chat from I Am, who says, I'm unsubscribing to any platform that can be easily manipulated by propaganda media.
And thank you for the support, and thank you for backing us up on that. That is your choice. If you want to do that, we can't tell you to do it or not, but I do thank you once again for backing us up and supporting us in this whole thing, and seeing our side of things and seeing what's happened to us. A lot of y'all haven't even heard our side of the story. But I put out a 45-minute long video today, and then I took it down because it was largely just a rant. It wasn't me going over it in like a topical way that made any sense. I was just kind of like bouncing around from place to place. But still, I do thank you for the support and helping the channel to keep on running. Because folks like you have helped us to keep this thing running and will help us to keep it running. And so with that, thank you so much once again. And we are on to the next one.
All right, and our next one is going to go to Steve T, who puts in a 10 and says, let's see here. Let's see. Now on this one, let me read this one more time. I don't know if my brain's comprehending it. So, Steve, I do understand your sentiment, but I'm going to have to refrain from reading that one off, sadly. But we will take the question from the live chat, and the question sponsored by Steve T from the live chat is going to go to Mike, who says, live chat question, has Putin and Zelenskyy ever met each other? And if so, when and how did it go?
They did meet each other before. Zelenskyy was actually an actor at the time, and from what I understand, it actually went pretty well. He just kind of shook hands with Putin, conversated with him a little bit, and that was that. But that's how I understand it. I'm not sure when that happened, to be quite honest, but I remember someone saying that they actually did meet at a time, because Zelenskyy was actually an incredibly famous actor in Ukraine and Russia before he became the president of Ukraine. And so with that, thank you so much once again for support. Hope that does address that well, and we are on to the next one.
All right, and our next one goes to Herb Derp NV, who puts in a 10 and says, it is interesting that those two channels are telling you to just take the abuse and live with it, which is very similar arguments to those telling Ukraine just to take the abuse from Russia and lost property too. And that's a good catch.
That's a good catch, I would agree. And it's also crazy how they largely go with almost like a Russian propaganda narrative where the attacker acts like they're the victim. Because we didn't attack Mercado first, he attacked us first, and then we actually responded first by saying, hey dude, like calm down, we weren't even talking about you, we were talking about someone else. Like, we have nothing wrong with you, we think your channel's great, like let's just get along. That's actually the first way we engaged the guy. We didn't go swinging, we didn't attack him first, we tried to resolve it way back in December of last year, and look where it got us. So yeah, kind of just like that, I would have to agree, that's actually a pretty accurate statement right there. And so with that, thank you once again for the support. Hope that does address that fairly well. And you know something else? I'll tell y'all this. Y'all are going to be seeing this in a bit. Y'all will see these channels sit there and say we're anti-Ukrainian because we won't stand for their shit. Now, I will bet you money that that's going to be coming around the corner, because we won't sit there and let someone dox us and make us fear for our lives every day and just go with it. We're going to be anti-Ukrainian from this point forward, according to them. And do not believe that lie for a damn minute. I didn't have a damn stake in this.
Really?
I didn't have a damn stake in this at the beginning of this war to make it a job or make any money off of it. I had no idea what in the world this was hold. I just started covering it because I wanted to, and then we made it to where we are now. So if y'all hear that crap, immediately refute it. That is a straight up lie. If anyone's pro-Ukrainian, it would be me, because I actually knew people in Ukraine and had friends in Ukraine that I knew from high school that were foreign exchange students that I was talking to when the war broke out before most of them even got involved in the war at all. So with that, I hope that does address that well. Thank you once again, and we are on to the next one.
And also, to be perfectly straight up and honest, this situation has nothing to do with Ukraine at all. It has to do with harassment and, our rights being violated. That's what it has to do with. Just because we're a Ukraine channel doesn't mean everything we do is Ukraine related. If somebody's violating our rights, we're not going to give up our rights and forfeit them just because we support Ukraine. That's not the way things work. But anyways, moving on to our next one, we have a $10 super chat from Robert Nicholson, who says, your actions to protect yourself are entirely justified, and stay strong.
And thank you for the support. We will stay strong, and thank you for backing us up in this whole ordeal. And so with that, we are on to the next one. Thank you once again.
And the next one goes to Net Raven Gaiman, who puts in a 10 and says, good luck with those current struggles with that other channel. You got this, and thank you for all you do.
And thank you for the support. And I'm glad to know that the community does back us up, because from what we know right now, y'all are the only ones that do. With all the facts and information out there in front of everyone, right now we're on our own, and I'm fine with that. And so with that, thank you once again. Hope that does address that well. And we're on to the next one.
And the next one goes to KG, who puts in a 10 and says, if you were my kids and this crap happened, let's just say, Papa, don't mess around with threats for doing good. And I would have to say that sentiment is probably shared by other people as well. You're not alone in that. But Enforcer, what say you?
And I would have to agree. You're probably not alone in that at all. And so with that, thank you once again. And we are on to the next one.
And the next one also goes to KG, who puts another 10 and says, what I like about you guys is your no faded glory, but there are other channels who represent more than they are.
And I got to thank you for the support. And Matthew, do you understand that one? Because for some reason it didn't translate for me.
They're saying we're not overhyping ourselves to, be larger than we actually are. We acknowledge who we are. We're two college graduates with limited life experience. We haven't served in the military, and we say that up front, outright, every single time. I have a bachelor's in political science. You have a bachelor's in history, and we don't try to pretend like we're larger than life, or at least that's the way I took it.
Oh, well, if that's the way it was meant, because for some reason it wasn't translating for me, I got to thank you for the support. And I got to say, I thank you so much for the praise, but, it's actually, I actually find it very weird to take praise. I've had to learn how to do that over the channel's history, over the channel's lifespan, because so many people say nice things that I've had to figure out how to say, but usually I just go, nah, that's not true. But still, thank you so much for the kind words and the thought that was behind that. And thank you once again for helping this channel to keep on running. And with that, we're on to the next one.
All right. Excuse me, my mind is really going. But we have a $20 super chat from Zero J Kwan. And thank you very much, Mr. Kwan, for that support. They said, Enforcer and Enforcer Matt, stay strong and don't lose your focus on reporting the news. Your channel is far more informative and neutral, and you both kept quiet about it turned nasty. And stay strong against wolves in sheep's skin. And yes, we did stay quiet, Zero J Kwan. We stayed quiet for a long time because we don't want these fights. But the fights seem to be seeking us out, and we don't want them. There's crazy people out there. I'm going to leave it at that. But Enforcer, what say you?
And I would agree with you, Zero J Kwan, and Matthew too. We've been trying to avoid this entirely. We've told other people, we've been telling everyone in the community, we don't want y'all to get involved on our side or anything. We just want this to be taken care of. We just want this guy to stop lying about us. That's all we want. That's all we wanted from the start. That's why we sent him a cease and desist. And all he could have done, he could have made an official retraction right then, and it would have been over. Because what he did was defamation. There's no doubt about it. There's no such thing as free speech of calling someone a scammer. That's not free speech. That's not protected speech. That's defamation. And so I got to thank you so much for the support. And we're gonna keep doing our thing. And some people will sit there and go, oh look, you've lost. Let's see what the exact number is right now. Lost about 1,000 subs today, actually, about exactly. That's fine. That's fine with me. We've spent all of our time over the course of this channel growing this community, and if people want to listen to lies and leave, that's fine by me. It's not going to make me stop standing by my values and what's right, because I'm not going to bend over for crooks. I'm not going to bend over for people who lie on us and try and bully us into doing something that's wrong. I'm not. Because next time they're in a situation where they get pulled over by a cop and they fling them to the floor or something like that, and then they sit there and go, well, why aren't the other cops standing up? Because they're just like y'all. They're just the same mindset as y'all. That cop's their friend, and they're going to do nothing about it. And so with that, hope that does address that fairly well, and we are on to the next one.
And the next one goes to Angel Hernandez, who puts in a $10 donation. And let me get rid of the bots are flooding in here at the last second. And bad time for them to flood in when my mind's getting tired, but I still got time for them. This one goes to Angel, who says, hello from Fort Mitchell, Alabama. And I'm here since Prigozhin coup, and I love the channel. And everything will be fine. And remember, the LSA Department of Defense is here for you guys.
And thank you so much once again for the support. And thank you for saying that y'all are here with us. And also great to know that there are folks in Alabama who are backing us up and supporting us too. And that's another thing that we've been attacked on, for people to act like we're way beyond the ages of discrimination. We've been attacked for being Southerners from Alabama, like we can control where we were born and where we were raised, which is another thing that's just absolutely ludicrous. Y'all all know the jokes about Alabama, the incest bred cousin stuff. That's been thrown around plenty. It's just, That's very derogatory to people from the South who can't control they're born here and live here, and that's a huge detriment to Southern folks who are very nice people, and none of them...
Indeed. And Forster, I got to interrupt you for a second because we got some humongous breaking news that just came out a second ago. Israel has declared war, apparently, on Palestine, from what I take it. They've declared an all-out state of war, and it looks like the war is on.
Damn, really?
That's what it says. That's from Fitux News. It says Israel's Defense Force declares a state of war.
Dang, that's pretty wild. Well, I guess I know what we're making a video on tomorrow. It's going to be the war in Israel. So with that, that's insane. Y'all are all here tonight to hear that Israel just went to war with Palestine. So we'll be covering that. We'll be covering that as neutral as possible. We're not picking a side on that because I know that a lot of people are very contended about what side they support there. We're just going to cover the news as it is, and maybe explain both sides and just leave it up to y'all about what y'all like or dislike about either side. But very interesting here, and to all of our Israeli viewers here, and also if we have any Palestinian viewers here, hope y'all remain safe, and hopefully it doesn't affect the civilian population of either country much, if at all. And so with that, I hope that addresses that well, and we are on to the next one.
All right, and also just some clarification real quick. It says Hamas military chief calls on armed forces in Lebanon to join the fighting against Israel, according to Reuters. So it's a little bit unclear exactly who here has been declared war on by Israel, but they have declared a state of war. There are Palestinian fighters that have apparently overrun Israeli positions. I'm not sure exactly where. This is very preliminary and also very confusing because there's a lot of news coming out about it. But there's a lot of rockets heading into Israel. It looks like they're actually hitting targets. A lot of stuff's on fire. A lot of stuff's getting destroyed. And it looks like it's getting pretty bad over there. It's looking like worse than Ukraine almost, and this quickly. Very bad. We'll have to cover on that tomorrow for sure, but that is not good to see at all. Very unstable situation. But with that being said, moving on to our next super chat, we have a $20 donation from Rob Davison, who does not leave a comment, and that is his first ever super chat on the stream. And big thanks to you, Rob, for that support. And Enforcer, what say you?
And thank you so much for the support, Rob. You didn't throw in a comment, but the support helps us to keep this thing going. And thank you so much for that once again. And with that, we are on to the next one.
And the next one goes to Sully Canuck, who puts in a 20 Canadian and says, I'm still with you guys and LSA forever.
And thank you so much, Sully Canuck. I haven't heard that name in a while, actually, and I got to thank you so much for coming back out again, Sully Canuck. It's been, I think, a couple of weeks from what I can think, but still, thank you so much for sticking with us. And LSA forever. The Lee Spring Army will never die, and the Lee Spring Army will prevail. It will, of course, be tough. It's going to be very difficult, and I make no mistake about it, and y'all make no mistake about it. We are going to be going through absolute hell, but if that's what we're going to have to go through, that's what we'll go through. I'm not going to back down. The Lee Spring Army is not going to back down. Saying to face this as it is. We are pro-Ukrainian, but we're not going to stand for just downright bullshit. That's not what we're going to stand for. And so what I'm saying, and let me make this very clear, I'm giving y'all a letter of marque to go around and inform people about what's been going on in the actual our side of the story. Don't go around harassing people, but you can go around the internet and tell people what's been going on and tell our side of the story and get it out there. And so with that, thank you so much once again for support, Sully Canuck. I hope that does address that fairly well. And with that, we are on to the next one.
And also, real quick, one more thing. It says Israel's military declares a state of war amid surprise large-scale attack from Gaza. So very clearly, this news is all over the place. So, take a moment to review what is on Twitter. I'm reposting stuff as I see it, and potentially make up your own mind, because keep in mind, this is very preliminary. I'm seeing this stuff coming out like literally 1 or 2 minutes ago. So the information may not be totally up to speed, accurate, but there is clearly something major going on. And one thing is apparently for a fact, Israel has declared a state of war against someone, but it appears to be uncertain exactly who. But it's clearly one of those actors that was previously mentioned. But moving on to our next one, shout out to Anando for putting in a 1. Big thanks for that support, and we appreciate it very much. We also have a 10 from Fushikone, who says, thanks for the info. I unsubscribed from those 2 folks you mentioned, and I've been watching the war tourism in which some of these channels are engaged, and it's pretty sure, messing around with the contributions.
And I got to thank you for the support. And really quickly, Let me say this, Fushicon, because this is how I see it. You know, back in the First World War, when the Russian Empire was having millions of soldiers die on the Eastern Front in that war, and then everyone said, "And look at the Tsar, he's in his fine palace eating wonderful dinners, fanciful dinners with all of his friends." That's kind of what it looks like to me. Like, you know, like it's a war, so you go over there and you go hang out at a bar. You know, like I can't justify that in my head. Because whenever anyone does that in history, they're looked at as shitty people. And then people do that now. And then, oh, wait a minute, we're wrong for saying that looks wrong. But like, hell, you put that in any other context. You put that in the context of a leader doing that, which a lot of these people want to be leading the front and supporting Ukraine. You put it in that perspective, it does not look good at all in any historical context. But still, thank you once again for support. Hope that does address that fairly well. And with that, we are on to the next one.
And also, unfortunately, I think we're going to put a super chat cutoff into effect because we have currently about 35 super chats to go, and I think we might have to put one in effect.
I think we will, because it is now nearly 12:30, and this is probably going to be a marathon that goes for 4 hours. And so, with that, we're going to be putting a super chat cutoff. I thank every single one of y'all so much for the massive support that y'all have shown the channel tonight, and helping us to keep this thing running, and helping us to do this as a job. But sadly, we will not be able to accept any more super chats beyond this point. We're going to be reading off the rest of them that are here, and trying to get to some live chats. We probably won't be able to get to many, but beyond this point, we will not be able to read off super chats that are put in. So if you put one in, beware, we will not be able to read it off because we have to eventually round out the stream. And so with that, we are on to the next one.
All right, and our next one goes to KG, who puts in a 10 and says, Friday night, sleep later, grow more.
And thank you so much for the support. We will try and sleep more, but I think we're going to be sleeping less tonight. So with that, thank you once again. Hope that does address that. And we are on to the next one.
And the next one goes to KG, who puts in a 10 and says, as far as what's going on, the USA fleet is stationed in the Med right now, so expect some shock and awe.
Oh, we may see that. That would be pretty wild to see it unfold, but I wouldn't doubt that at all, especially considering the diplomatic relations at play in the Israel region. And so with that, thank you so much once again, and we are on to the next one.
And the next one goes to Jesus UCSB, who puts in a 10 and says, hola, 2 things. Can we get 5,000 likes? And we're very close. And he also said, hola, oh, man, I'm telling you. And he says some other things as well, which I'll refrain from saying, just out of just refraining. But Jesus, I agree. Thank you very much for that support as well. We also have a 10 from Butchie777, who says, respect for the LSA and what you both do.
And thank you so much, Butchie777, for having some respect for what we do, and of course helping this thing to keep on running. It means a lot to us, and I gotta thank you so much once again for being here with us tonight. And so with that, we're on to the next one.
And the next one goes to Eric Lesson, who puts in a 5, or excuse me, a 7. And this one goes to, oh my god, man, I messed that up so bad. Eric says, hello, Enforcers, I follow your streams every day. Please never stop. Slav Ukraine.
And Slav Ukraine, and we will, as long as it's in our power, we will not stop. And I gotta thank you so much once again for the support and being here with us for an incredibly long time. And also, I just saw someone say our dad is a douche for making us pay for rent. No, he's not. I think that's actually that's an entirely responsible thing to do. And I can't help how successful he is. And that you're absolutely correct. We don't get any grants or anything from the government because of his status, his position in life. We don't. But that's our lot in life. We're doing our thing, and we're doing it. I completely understand the position. It's not his duty to support grown adults. It's not at all. That would make no sense in my opinion. So I completely get where he's coming from with that, and I don't think that's a bad thing at all. Just to stand up in defense of my dad because he's an incredible person. But with that, we are on to the next one.
And the next one goes to Shug. Goodness, hello. They put in a 7 and said, urgent. You're being streamed live right now. Urgent. And it's not that urgent, but we will get to it eventually. Trust me, we will, because we do protect our copyrighted material, as we've made that very clear tonight. We don't tolerate people stealing our content. So thank you very much for letting us know, and the support as well. Up next, we have a $5 super chat from Eric Lessing, as well as a $5 super chat from OTubes, Marc-Andre Brunette, and also Angry Penguin. Big shout out to all of you as well for the support, and we do appreciate it very much. And moving on to our next one here, we have a $5 donation from Thomas Kruger, who says, thanks guys, and take a regular chat.
And thank you so much for the support, and we will take a regular chat. So with that, what do we got, Matthew?
All right, and our regular chat goes to Bolin, who says, thank you guys for what you do. It's a shame it's come to this. And here's a question for later. Any news with the Belarusian nukes?
We haven't gotten any news with the Belarusian nukes. From what I understand, they're still in Belarus. It's just that they haven't been moving around a lot, and we haven't heard a lot of updates on them. So with that, I hope that does address that well, and we are on to the next one.
All right, and our next one goes to Kafka on the Shore, who puts in a 5 and says, I think they're in Sudan hunting down Wagner war criminals.
That's what I've heard as well, so I don't really know whose side they're on to be able to be down there doing that. Maybe they're on no one's side, but still pretty interesting to hear that the Ukrainians are sending troops way out of Ukraine and into Sudan to go take care of something like that. It's kind of like what Israel did after the war, hunting down Nazi war criminals. But with that, thank you once again, and we are on to the next one.
And the next one goes to GOD420, who puts in a 5 and says, do you have a Discord I can join? And no, they got wrecked by sick people as well, so we don't have a Discord. But
yeah, they got wrecked.
Thank you very much for the support.
That got wrecked by assholes too, so we don't have a Discord anymore, and we never will. It was nothing but headaches and just a damn slog to try and keep a hold of. And then also moderators would always go on power trips and start abusing viewers. And then when I told them I didn't like that, then they had a problem with me. And of course, once again, the buddy system came into play, and they all defended each other when I found out that the moderator was cussing people out for minor things that I told them they can't cuss anyone out because that's rude and impolite, and they still did it. But with that, hope that does address that well. Sadly, we don't have a Discord. And with that, we're on to the next one.
All right, and up next, big shout out to CK Bold for putting in a $5 donation, and thank you very much for that support as well. Excuse the voice crack. And also, they said to take a live chat question, and CK, I hate to say it, but we are all out of live chat questions. We only have, I believe, let's see here. Yeah, we're actually all out of live chat questions. I just forgot to click the red box on one of them. So sadly, we can't grab one right now, but if one pops up, we will grab one. And with that being said, we're moving on to our next one, which goes to Terrence Custer, who puts in a 5 and says, I can spare it, showing my support.
And thank you so much for the support, and thank you for helping us to keep this thing running. And thank you so much for being here tonight. Every bit of support counts, and that's why we give about as much attention as we can to donations that are even $1, and not donations, super chats that are down to $1, and super chats that can go all the way up to $500. We treat them the same because for some of y'all, $5 may be as much to y'all as $500 is to another, and I greatly appreciate the effort that y'all went through to support the channel. And so with that, thank you once again, and we are on to the next one.
And the next one goes to Opus, who puts in a 5 and says, Mick Ranger, I donate in your name.
And thank you so much for donating in Mick Ranger's name and helping the channel to keep on running. And with that, we are on to the next one.
And also shout out to Arcane Waldy and also Kaiser Rose 9956 for the support, and we both appreciate the support. And sadly, it is after the super chat cutoff, and we still have a ton of super chats to get to, but we do want to recognize at least the support that was put in, and we appreciate you both very much. We also have a 5 from James Moon, who says keep up the good work and take one from the chat.
And thank you so much for enjoying our work and helping this channel to keep on rolling. And I don't know, maybe we have a new live chat now.
We do not. We're still out.
Well, I do thank you for the support. It is the thought that counts. But we have actually run flat out of live chats tonight because so many of y'all have asked to sponsor one. We don't have any in the queue anymore. But I do thank you for the support. And with that, we are on to the next one.
And up next, we have a $5 super chat from Courage, the Cowardly Dog, who says, guys, life is full of a-holes. Please don't get discouraged and stay strong.
And I thank you for the support, and we try not to get discouraged, but I'll be honest with you, it's very discouraging to see people back up someone who is as vile as the other guy. Y'all have heard everything I've said tonight about what he's done, so, that is what it is. But it is discouraging, to be quite honest with you, because, and another thing is that these people over there on the Mercado channel, they pray that we'll become pro-Russians for some reason. They're like, oh, we're pissing them off so much they'll become pro-Russians. I will never be a pro-Russian. It's not in America's interest to be a pro-Russian. That's absolutely stupid. And that tells you what kind of people they are. They don't care about supporting Ukraine. They just care about causing damn trouble. And look who's backing them up. But still, thank you once again, and we are on to the next one.
All right, and our next one is going to go to Dark Warrior 137, who puts in a 5 and says, I might be sending a Battleship board game to your P.O. Box with rules I created for my own game called Hunter Killer. Finally finished making it.
And I thank you so much for the support. I've got to be honest with you, I don't think we have a P.O. Box anymore. I think we actually closed that down a little while ago because of what's been going on right now, because people started saying that they were going to start mailing some dangerous stuff to our P.O. Box. So then we decided to shut it down, so that way we ended up not opening up a letter of anthrax spores. So, you can kind of credit them with the fact that we don't have a P.O. Box anymore. But still, thank you so much once again for the support and helping the channel to keep on running. And I wish we could get a hold of that game, and maybe we can find some other way to do it. But still, thank you once again, and we are on to the next one.
And the next one is going to go to the Bearded Atheist, who puts in a 5 and says, "This is not much, but I do what I can. And I think context in your current situation is important. And with the context, MM is clearly in the wrong and claims without proof."
And thank you for the support, and I'd have to agree. He is clearly in the wrong, especially in our opinion. I mean, we're the ones putting out the stuff on him. But I do have to agree with you, and I thank you so much for backing us up on that. And I thank you for seeing what's really going on. And so with that, thank you so much once again. Hope that does address that well. And we are on to the next one.
And up next, shout out to Tom X-Men as well as Bomber of Doom. They each put in a 5 without a comment, and we appreciate both of you very much. We also have a 5 from G Seals, who says, "Dude is an immature liar and a disappointment. He embarrasses the veterans everywhere, and I will say."
And I thank you for the support. You wouldn't believe what the guy has done to folks. It's been crazy, and you know, I'd largely have to kind of agree with you on that, but I'm going to try and hold back comments as best I can. I think I've made as many as I can tonight, but still, thank you so much once again. And I'd have to say, I think in my honest opinion, he's the most despicable person we have ever come up against in our lives. And so with that, we are on to the next one.
And the next one goes to Tuns Nald, who puts in a 5 and says, "I've been here since day 40. I trust the integrity, transparency, and dedication to doing these things professionally, and this experience is going to give you resilience to withstand what the future holds."
And I thank you so much for the support. Hopefully it will. Hopefully, I guess the best thing we can look at this as is a learning experience. And I thank you so much for supporting this channel and, of course, taking our side on things. It means a lot to me, and I hope that folks go out there and tell our story and let folks know what's happening to us out here, because it's outrageous. And so with that, thank you so much once again. I hope that does address that well. And with that, we are on to the next one.
And this one goes to Only the Best Tunes, who puts in a 5 and says, "Longtime viewer, my father and I have enjoyed your coverage of the war since the early days and see the value of the daily efforts and keep on rocking."
And thank you so much for the support. And I hope that you and your dad are still enjoying this channel tonight. It's been a horrendous day. It really has. I mean, I'm not even a kid. It's been a terrible day, but I do thank you so much for enjoying the channel tonight and supporting us to help us to keep the thing rolling. And so with that, we are on to the next one. And say hello to your dad for me if he's there right now. And with that, we're on to the next one.
All right, and up next we have a $5 super chat from Joe Blow, who says, "Glad you guys are avoiding taking political sides, unlike recent trends by other YouTubers who seem to be very politically motivated."
I thank you so much for the support, and I thank you for appreciating that. And that's something that Mercado wishes we weren't. I'm like, to be quite honest with y'all, I'm actually a politically neutral person. Like, that's who I am. I'm not really a big fan of either side. And he keeps on trying to throw us in a camp because he knows that that's going to make people hate us more. And that's another thing that the guy's done over and over and over. And I'm very adamant on keeping things politically neutral. I think that's the way to report news. The only thing we take a side on is with Ukraine, we support Ukraine. That's the only thing we take a side on. And I thank you so much for enjoying that. And I thank you for backing us up on that, because I don't like people taking political sides when covering news. It only divides people when most people would probably agree on the same thing otherwise. And so with that, thank you once again. Hope that does address that. And we are on to the next one.
All right, and our next one goes to N. Hansen, who puts in a 2 and says, "You guys are all right by me," and question to the chat.
And thank you so much for saying we're all right by you. And do we have a question from the chat?
Let's see here. We have, let's see. Right off the bat, I am not seeing one. I was trying to grab one from Duncan, but to be honest with you, it got away before I was able to get it. Oh, here's one from Bernard Rubin. "How well will the Abrams perform in Ukraine hands? Aren't they export models?"
I think it'll do pretty well. It's going to do probably about as good as a Leopard 2A6, but logistically it'll be a little bit different. And so with that, I hope that does address that fairly well. Oh, you got rid of him, Matthew. I was actually about to address that. It's not about Ukraine. It's not about Ukraine Midwest Connect. This guy has threatened us personally. We have to draw a line at some point and say that at some point what the guy's done is unacceptable, and it's been like that for ever since we filed the lawsuit in June. It's been like that since then, and well before that too. And so with that, we're on to the next one.
And the next one goes to James Moon, who puts in a 2, along with Marcus Kennedy, Gregory Naramore, and also Antidote. Big shout out to all 4 or 5 of you for the support, and we do appreciate it very much, as always, and helping to keep this entire thing running. And yes, Duncan, it did get away. I don't know how Probably because my mind is slipping away, and that's what got away before the question did. But anyways, moving on to our next one. We have a $2 donation from Eric Kress, who says, keep up the good work, and take one from the chat.
And thank you so much for the support and helping the channel to keep on running, and we will make sure to try and take one from the chat. And thank you for the kind words as well. And so, do we have one from the live chat?
And I'm trying to see here if one just came in the live chat here. I'll be honest with you, I'm not seeing it, and my mind is going so badly, I'm not sure how much longer I'm going to hang on, Enforcer, so I think we might just need to keep moving.
All right, and with that, we're on to the next one.
And the next one goes to Kyle Gray, who puts in a 2, and says, I appreciate you guys. I've been watching since week 3-ish.
And thank you so much for watching us for so long, and thank you for appreciating enough to support us and help us to keep it rolling. And with that, we are on to the next one.
And the next one goes to Simon Townsend, who puts in a 2, and says, we stick together. He puts in the Wales flag, and then the Ukraine flag, and he says, F them all.
And thank you so much for the support. Thank you for backing us up during this tough time. And that's actually really cool that you threw in a Welsh flag because our family comes from Wales. And so with that, thank you so much once again. Hope that does address that fairly well. And with that, we are on to the next one.
And we have one from Jason Pate. We actually have 2 from Jason Pate. And they said, Benjamin Franklin, that guy knew how to have some fun.
Oh, he did. There's no doubt about that. That's completely true. And so with that, thank you so much once again for the support, helping the channel keep on running. And with that, we're on to the next one.
And the next one goes to Jason Pate once again, who says Syria and Iran are using Hamas in a proxy war with Israel.
And that may be the case. We'll have to look into it a little bit more and see what are the external powers at play, possibly. But, of course, can't really make a comment on that now because, you know, we have to kind of gather up the news and make sure that we get the story generally correct the first time we report it. So we'll be putting that out in a video tomorrow. But with that, thank you once again for the support. And also, California Cruising, the reason why we did that is because the guy, just go back and watch the whole stream. I don't even think I can explain it right now. Just go back and watch the whole stream. He actually pops up in it. It's a whole thing, so just take a look before you judge. But with that, we're on to the next one.
And that was our last super chat of the night. So once again, big thanks to every single person that threw in support tonight, and even to the folks that did not throw in support. Thank you for watching, also hitting the like button, because that helps tremendously as well. And you don't have to throw in support. And we have actually answered, in between all the super chats, we've answered over 12 or 15 live chat questions in the meantime, and ran completely out in the meantime. So big thanks to you all once again for supporting the channel and helping to keep it running through all the trials and tribulations, still helping to keep it running. And we came and express how appreciative we are for that. And moving on from that, I don't see the Morse code in the spreadsheet. So I'm guessing that I did not see it in the live chat or I missed it. So Enforcer, did you happen to catch it?
Well, I do know what the Morse code message is, so we're just going to give it to everyone tonight. That's the sound of money, and y'all got the Morse code message dead on the nail, hopefully. The message is that the Lee Spring Army will support Ukraine until the last, and long live the LSA. And that message will remain true forever. We are going to keep supporting Ukraine and keep running this channel until it's over. I don't care how many people drag us through the mud, how many people lie about the story of what's happened, and how many people disagree with what we've done. I still support Ukraine. There is a line that we will draw, however, to the point where people will start to threaten us with bodily harm, injury, dox us, and continuously harass us and invade our privacy. That's one thing I will not stand for, no matter if you are on my side or against me. That is absolutely downright vile, and people who support people who do that ought to be looked at questionably because their morals are obviously not in the right place backing up people like that. I got to thank all of y'all so much once again for watching tonight. Of course, tonight has not been a normal night for our stream. It's been very different, very weird, and of course, many of y'all have stuck it through with us, and I've got to thank every single one of y'all so much once again. There are 2,700 of y'all here right now, and it blows me away that 2,700 of y'all are even here 3 hours and 45 minutes after the stream started. But once again, I thank every single one of y'all for backing us up and supporting the Lee Spring Army and the channel while we go through these next few days. I want y'all to know things will probably get worse. Do not expect them to get better. I've learned so far in this war that that is never the case. Be ready to defend the honor of the LSA if you have to. Be ready to defend yourselves. There's people out there who attack viewers individually. Just make sure to be careful and play it safe. But I gotta thank everyone so much once again for watching. I hope y'all have had a great night. I hope y'all take care and stay safe out there. And once again, long live the Lee Spring Army. The Lee Spring Army will never die. Don't let our story fade. Go out there and tell everyone what the real story is. And with that, good night.
And also shout out to Sick Lid who put in a 50 as well. And thank you very much. And also good night and Slava Ukraine.
Yes.
The Leaf Spring Army sends its regards.
Русский военный корабль. Предлагаю сложить оружие и сдаться. Русский военный корабль, иди нахуй.